Football starting by copying peak Messi's attributes. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 26 Coach, I want to play. The points system announced brought a slight sigh of relief to Lin Quan. He only managed 1 point in this match, which seemed to be related to the low level of the game. The opponent was a team from the two Bundesliga, and Werder Bremen's performance last season was poor. Therefore, in the system's assessment, this match was equivalent to the second tier of the top 5 European leagues, namely the two Bundesliga, the English Championship, and the Spanish Second Division. The rewards for these leagues are a level lower than those of the top 5 leagues, and if the league level is even lower, the rewards will be further reduced. For example, in the Chinese Super League, a win at this level would only earn about 0.5 points or even less. However, these leagues were basically not within Lin Quan's consideration, so he only glanced at them and then ignored them. The Bundesliga only has 18 teams and only 34 matches per season. This is fewer than La Liga and the Premier League. Furthermore, the Bundesliga has fewer cup competitions than other leagues, with only the German Cup. And Werder Bremen's ranking last season was not on the European qualification zone, meaning they were ineligible for both the Champions League and the Europa League. Therefore, their main competitions this season are the Bundesliga and the German Cup. The Bundesliga has 34 rounds, and as long as he stays healthy and performs consistently, he should have no problem getting playing time. As for the German Cup, that depends on the team's strength and luck. If they get a good draw, they might make it all the way to the final. If they get a bad draw, they might face a strong opponent right away and be swept out. So, for Lin Quan, every match must be played with all his might to win. Otherwise, he might not even accumulate enough points in 2 seasons. Thinking of this, Lin Quan secretly warned himself not to be complacent or slack off. He needed to work harder to improve his skills to increase the team's chances of winning, even against strong teams. So, early the next morning, Lin Quan arrived at the training ground and did some extra training before the team's official training began. Half an hour later, De Bruyne also arrived at the training base. Seeing Lin Quan training, he immediately changed his clothes and joined in. Come on, same old rules, I'll defend, you attack. Is this guy addicted to being humiliated? Lin Quan couldn't help but grumble inwardly, but he was more than happy to have someone train with him. So, the two began their familiar practice session again. Their training attitude inspired the rest of the team. Later arrivals, seeing the two training, didn't chat or play around on the sidelines as usual, but joined in and started training too. This scene greatly surprised the coaching staff. We didn't expect these two to bring such a change to the team. Yes, many young players of this age become arrogant and complacent after achieving fame, then stop training seriously, gradually decline, and eventually disappear without a trace. There are many such talents in the football world ruined by external praise and flattery. But these two can remain calm and focused, without arrogance or impatience. This mentality is extremely rare. With the players so serious, the coaching staff couldn't fall behind. So, they began to seriously arrange tactical drills in preparation for the next warm-up match. On July 26, Werder Bremen continued to play at home. Facing a challenge from Aberdeen, a long-established powerhouse in the Scottish Premiership, Werder Bremen made some changes to their starting lineup for this match. Due to poor performance in the previous game, striker Nils Petersen, on loan from Bayern Munich, was benched. Replacing him in the starting lineup was Niklas Füllkrug, a young player from the team's youth academy, born in 1993 and currently 19 years old. This future German international was still quite inexperienced at this time, and his ability was not as strong as it would later become. Unlike the proud Nils, Füllkrug had played in the youth teams for a long time, so he cherished this rare opportunity to play in the first team. He knew he was young and his ability was limited, and the coach put him on the field to use his height and strength as a target man in the attacking third, not to play the role of the team's finisher. Therefore, he had a clear understanding of his own position, to play a supporting role, not to be the star, and not to steal the spotlight from the team's leaders. In this match, Fergrudge performed exceptionally well in the attacking third. After receiving the ball, he was able to withstand the interference of opposing defenders and pass it back to teammates in better positions. This was completely different from Nils. In the previous match, once the ball reached Nils, he wouldn't easily pass unless he was completely double-teamed and had no chance to shoot. His reluctance to pass prevented him from creating threatening shots, resulting in Werder Bremen's poor attacking performance. The team had many opportunities but couldn't break through. However, Fergrudge didn't hold on to the ball too long, didn't act recklessly, passed effectively, cooperated with teammates, and actively tracked back defensively. This made the team's attack much smoother and significantly improved the defensive intensity in the midfield and attacking third. As a result, Werder Bremen took an early lead in the first half. De Bruyne scored 2 goals in the 23rd and 38th minutes of the first half, practically sealing the victory. Notably, De Bruyne's second goal came from an assist by Fergrudge. Fergrudge had a good shooting opportunity, but selflessly passed to the better positioned De Bruyne. This earned him De Bruyne's praise, as he ran over to hug him after the goal. On the sidelines, Lin Quan felt both happy and worried after seeing De Bruyne score his second goal. He was genuinely happy for his friend's excellent performance. However, with such a large lead in the first half, if the coach felt the advantage was too great and didn't let him play, he would have to say goodbye to those points. De Bruyne, please stop your magic. 2 goals is enough, give the away team some face, don't score any more. Let me score the rest for you. While Lin Quan was worrying about his chances of playing in the second half, the coaching staff was also discussing the issue. Aberdeen is a long-established powerhouse in the Scottish Premiership. How come they seem so weak? Is it because we are too strong? Aberdeen is a friendly opponent we invited from afar. If we give them a crushing defeat at home, it'll be a loss of face. Tell the players to hold back a bit. This isn't an official match, there's no need to humiliate the opponent. If we really suffer a humiliation, we might not be able to find friendly opponents in the future. Should we still put Lin Quan on in the second half? With his attacking ability, I'm worried it might really lead to a disaster. Schaff scratched his head and glanced at Lin Quan sitting on the bench. Because of his outstanding performance in training and the previous match, Lin Quan was already an absolute starter in his tactical system for the new season. He originally planned to let Lin Quan play in this match to continue training and improve his understanding with the other players on the team. However, the overly smooth game situation made his plans a bit out of sync. Lin Quan felt the coach's gaze and looked at him with utmost sincerity. The message conveyed in his eyes was, "Coach, I want to play, do you have any recommendation votes?" Chapter 27, a winger cutting inside, isn't that something you can do with your feet? Aberdeen, a powerhouse in the Scottish Premiership, is certainly no pushover. In the first half, they struggled to adapt to the Bundesliga's pace and were unfamiliar with the pitch, resulting in a noticeably sluggish performance. After the start of the second half, Aberdeen increased the tempo, employing long balls and crosses, along with attacking tactics reminiscent of the Premier League, to counter Werder Bremen. While Aberdeen's players lacked technical skill and couldn't match Werder Bremen's technical prowess, their players were physically strong and aggressive, with their tall striker possessing exceptional heading ability. Switching to long balls and crosses actually made their attacks more effective. In the 56th minute, a Werder Bremen defender misjudged a header, allowing Aberdeen's tall striker to receive the ball and pass it back. Niall McGinn, the striker recently transferred from Scottish giants Celtic, followed up with a powerful shot that pierced the Werder Bremen goal. The score became 2-1. On the sidelines, Coach Schaff had already risen from his seat. His brow furrowed, though Werder Bremen were still leading. However, the situation on the field was turning against Werder Bremen. The opponent's attacking tactics were tearing their defense apart. They were on the defensive end, and if things continued this way, they were likely to concede another goal. And just as they feared, in the 63rd minute, Aberdeen launched a long pass from their own half. Aberdeen's tall striker, sandwiched between 2 Werder Bremen centre-backs, leaped high, outmuscled them, and with a powerful header, headed the ball into the Werder Bremen goal. This goal sent the more than 30,000 fans in the stadium into a frenzy. They clutched their heads, staring in disbelief at their own goal. Schaff's face was also grim. He kicked an empty water bottle away, clearly extremely dissatisfied with the team's terrible defense. At that moment, he made up his mind to buy a strong defender before the transfer window closed. He simply couldn't stand the team's abysmal defense anymore. Therefore, as long as it doesn't exceed the team's budget, he's willing to accept a price under 5 million. On the bench, Lin Quan was also dumbfounded. Messi's heading technique is relatively poor, so he rarely uses headers in training and matches. The less skilled he is at heading, the more astonishing it is. Lin Quan shuddered at the sight of that header, such a long distance, a pass of over 50 meters, and he actually headed the ball into the goal. If it were him, he'd probably be knocked unconscious by the ball and carried off on a stretcher, right? Was the opponent's head made of iron? Would such a header cause a concussion? This is actually the opinion of a novice with little heading experience. In reality, in most teams, midfielders and forwards frequently use their heads to contest for the ball's trajectory when the defender or goalkeeper kicks it long, passing it to teammates. For someone who can't head, being hit by the ball certainly hurts. But someone skilled in heading knows how to generate and deflect the force, so it's not as painful. Lin Quan hesitated. Heading is a skill that can be quite useful in certain situations, especially when there's limited space on the ground, no room to control the ball, and the teammate is passing a high or half-high ball. In these situations, controlling the ball and then shooting with your foot gives the defender time to react and disrupt. However, if you launch an attack with a header, the opponent has less time to clear, thus increasing the probability of scoring. But with his height, even if he practiced heading, it seemed unlikely he could win the header. Just as Lin Quan was lost in thought, Coach Schaff called his name. Lin, go warm up, get ready to go on. Upon hearing this, Lin Quan jumped up and immediately ran to warm up. When the team conceded their first goal, he felt he had a chance to play. And after conceding the second goal, he was 100% certain he would get to play. Although the outcome of a warm-up match wasn't very important, playing against a relatively weak opponent on home soil was a significant advantage. If they lose the game, especially in such a dramatic comeback after leading by a large margin, it will have a huge impact on the players' mentality. Werder Bremen's squad is too young, and young players are prone to psychological fluctuations. If they can't stabilize the situation and win this game quickly, this defeat could create huge problems for their upcoming matches. 5 minutes later, Lin Quan came on. After entering the game, he didn't rush to launch an attack but observed the situation. Aberdeen's players didn't seem to take him, an unknown young player, too seriously, unlike Cottbus who had focused on marking him. This reassured Lin Quan. With Messi at his peak, as long as he had enough space to move, once he got going, it would be impossible to stop him except by fouling. Aberdeen's players didn't know Lin Quan's ability, but Werder Bremen's teammates knew it very well. In the 76th minute, Werder Bremen intercepted the ball in their own half, and after a few passes in the midfield and backfield, the ball was quickly passed to Lin Quan's feet. Like the winger in the first half, Lin Quan, after receiving the ball, sprinted down the flank towards the opponent's half. Aberdeen's players, seeing this, assumed he was going to cross from the byline, so they only assigned their own wingers to mark him. The other players consciously cut off the passing lane between Lin Quan and Vergrudge, preventing Lin Quan from passing the ball to the striker. Furthermore, because of De Bruyne's excellent performance in the first half, he was also targeted by the opponent, with their defensive midfielder closely marking him, preventing him from receiving the ball. Seeing the opponent's defensive positioning, Lin Quan was secretly pleased. There were large gaps in their defense. He made a move to accelerate down the byline, and the defender marking him, unsuspecting, immediately accelerated back towards the byline. However, after taking a step back, he was shocked to find that his opponent had cut inside. The Aberdeen defender immediately reached out to pull Lin Quan down. But Lin Quan was too fast. He didn't even touch his shirt before being completely outmaneuvered. Seeing Lin Quan cleanly and efficiently dribble past Aberdeen's winger, the Werder Bremen coaching staff involuntarily stood up. Was it coming? Aberdeen's full-back, seeing his teammate get beaten, cursed inwardly and immediately moved to block Lin Quan, denying him a shooting opportunity. In recent years, wingers cutting inside and shooting have become fashionable in football. Fast, dribbling, and capable wingers who can cut inside and shoot are highly sought after in today's football world. For example, Messi of Barcelona, Ronaldo of Real Madrid, and Robben and Ribéry of Bayern Munich. These players are valued at tens or even hundreds of millions of euros, and are practically unavailable on the market. Because of this, Gareth Bale, the Tottenham winger linked with Real Madrid, is reportedly valued at over 80 million euros. Even at that price, Tottenham doesn't want to sell and wants to observe him further. This shows just how rare a good winger is. However, when wingers cut inside, they are often in a weaker position, making it easy to intercept their ball and disrupt their attack if the opportunity is right. Aberdeen's fullback didn't believe that a young player like Lin Quan had such good ball control. His left foot was definitely not as strong as his right. So, when the ball fell to Lin Quan's left foot, he stretched out his leg. And then he was beaten. Huh? The fullback was completely confused. Where's that kid in front of me? Where's that big player? How did he disappear? Looking back, oh, he was in our penalty area. Wait, how did the ball get into our net? I don't know how to post a bonus chapter. I'll figure it out some more. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Close Eye. When Lin Quan broke through with the ball, many spectators held their breath and stood up involuntarily, seemingly wanting a better view. When Lin Quan dribbled past the winger and the full-back, cut inside, and then used the outside of his foot to curl a shot into the far corner, making the score 3-2, the fans erupted. A thunderous cheer erupted from the stands, and some fans closer to the pitch even shouted at Lin Quan, "Lin, well done. Great job. Beat them. Score another one." Some fans even tried to climb over the fence to rush onto the field and hug Lin Quan in celebration. This made the security guards on the sidelines very nervous, and they quickly stopped the aggressive fans. Lin Quan was startled by the fans' enthusiasm. After a moment of hesitation, he waved to the fans to thank them for their support, and then quickly ran away. He had long heard that Bundesliga fans were very passionate, especially the die-hard ones. However, he hadn't expected the height to be this high. Bundesliga teams typically have high fences around their stadiums to prevent fans from climbing over. But now it seemed even with fences, it wasn't very secure. Lin Quan hadn't expected such popularity among the fans, considering he hadn't played in a regular match yet, only a friendly. He was unaware that nearly 10,000 of the 30,000 plus spectators present had come specifically to watch this friendly after watching his brilliant goal in the previous game online. In today's rapidly developing social media landscape, achieving instant fame with a single goal is significantly easier than before. After Lin Quan's goal, the home team's coaching staff breathed a sigh of relief. It seems Lin Quan isn't a flash in the pan. His dribbling and passing abilities are still sharp. We can relax. Assistant coach Rolf had been worried that Lin Quan's brilliant performance in the previous game was just a flash in the pan, fearing he would revert to his old form in the next match. Such an unexpected outcome would greatly impact their already formulated battle plan for the new season. Werder Bremen, a club with a relatively modest budget, usually relies on ordinary players. It's difficult for them to retain top stars. Any promising young players are quickly poached by big clubs. Players like Klose and Ozil, who have left their ranks, were snatched up by Bayern Munich and Real Madrid with high prices before they even had a chance to fully develop. They know they can't retain promising young talents like Lin Quan and De Bruyne, so they haven't considered buying them outright. They are simply aiming to rely on these promising young players to improve the team's performance and help the club avoid relegation. However, if these two players' performances plummet in actual matches, it would be a devastating blow to Werder Bremen, whose tactics are centered around them. The match continued, and although Lin Quan's entry into the game didn't solve Werder Bremen's defensive problems, it completely revitalized their attack. Lin Quan's dribbling ability, Verkluge's playmaking skills, De Bruyne's passing ability, and the excellent positioning of the team's other veteran left winger, Aaron Hunt, all combined to create a formidable attacking system for Werder Bremen, making Aberdeen's goal a constant threat. The immense defensive pressure forced Aberdeen to reduce their attacking numbers. Schuff, recognizing the threat from the opposing tall striker, subsequently substituted in veteran Predl. Predl, standing at 194 centimeters, possessed a significant advantage in aerial duels. His strong physique and 94 kilograms weight gave him exceptional physical strength, allowing him to hold his position, push past opponents, and disrupt their attacks. After coming on, he won several duels against the opposing tall striker, significantly reducing their attacking threat. As a result, Aberdeen completely shut down on both ends of the pitch. In stoppage time, Lin Quan broke through and passed the ball to Verkluge, who was in an excellent position. He could have shot directly after receiving the ball, but hesitated. The opposing defender rushed in and almost intercepted it. Fortunately, he managed to pass the ball, albeit somewhat awkwardly. Lin Quan was surrounded by two defenders and had no opportunity to turn and shoot after receiving the ball. So, he feigned receiving the ball, moved ahead, and deliberately let it pass to Alan Hunter, who was making a run from behind. Hunter didn't waste the opportunity Lin Quan created, receiving the ball and unleashing a powerful shot into the goal. After scoring, Alan was overjoyed, pointing to Lin Quan and gesturing for him to celebrate. Although Lin Quan didn't assist, his dribble was more threatening than a pass, as it drew away defenders and disrupted their judgment. Lin Quan naturally wouldn't refuse an opportunity to strengthen his friendship with his senior teammates, so he called De Bruyne to join him in celebrating. After the celebration, he went over to Füllkrug, patted him on the shoulder, and said, "Shoot when you have the chance, and pass when you don't. Whether you shoot or pass, don't hesitate." Füllkrug blushed and said somewhat embarrassedly, "Thank you, Lin, I know what to do." He knew he had hesitated too much and missed a golden opportunity. Although he always wanted to play a supporting role and not steal the spotlight, he was, after all, the team's only striker. If he didn't shoot when given such a good opportunity, he would be no threat to the opponent. Once the opponent realized this, they would likely ignore him in defense and focus on marking his teammates. In that case, with his teammates restricted and him not shooting, the team's attack would be frozen. Therefore, even if you don't want to steal the spotlight, you still have to shoot when the time is right. Füllkrug is called the close eye by Werder Bremen fans, who hope he can achieve the same success as his predecessor. However, judging from his later achievements, he was still far from that goal. While Klose's skills might not seem outstanding, falling short of those flamboyant superstars, his technique was incredibly well-rounded, excelling in both headers and volleys. His goal-scoring instincts and off-the-ball movement were top-notch. Given the pass, he consistently scored with remarkable precision, as if it were second nature. This in itself is a form of skill. However, this unassuming style of play, coupled with his unassuming personality, meant he was far less famous than those flamboyant superstars, leading many to underestimate his abilities. If Füllkrug truly wanted to emulate Klose, he would need to put in at least double the effort. Perhaps Lin Quan's encouragement had an effect, because after the game restarted, Füllkrug finally stopped hesitating. In the final minute of stoppage time, Lin Quan was fouled outside the penalty area. De Bruyne took the free kick, and since the ball was within his shooting range, he opted for a direct shot. The shot was of high quality, fast, and at a tricky angle. The goalkeeper leaped high but couldn't reach the ball. De Bruyne, seeing the ball clear the goalkeeper's outstretched fingers, had his arms outstretched, ready to celebrate his first hat-trick. However, his excessive focus on the angle caused the ball to hit the crossbar and bounce back. De Bruyne clutched his head in frustration. If he hadn't been so focused on the extreme angle, he would have succeeded. After the ball bounced back, chaos erupted in Aberdeen's penalty area. Several players scrambled for the first touch, and the ball was somehow headed outside the box, landing at Füllkrug's feet. Füllkrug hesitated, seemingly unprepared. He saw the defenders rushing towards him and instinctively wanted to pass, but then he suddenly remembered Lin Quan's earlier words. His teammates weren't in good positions, the penalty area was crowded, and the chances of a pass being blocked were extremely high. Conversely, his position was the best. So, without adjusting, he unleashed a shot. It was a low shot, and the goalkeeper's view was blocked by the bodies of both players, so he didn't see the ball immediately. By the time he noticed the shot, it was too late to make a save. The ball flew low into the net. Just so you know, my book hasn't been recommended yet. The website currently ranks recommendations based on readership, and I don't know if my lack of recommendations is related to that. So, I sincerely ask everyone not to leave the book untouched. Please check it out after each update and mark it as a follower. Thank you. Chapter 29: The Crazy Transfer Market. After winning their friendly against Aberdeen, Werder Bremen only has one more preseason game left in July. Coach Schaff was very satisfied with the team's attacking play in the midfield and forward areas during those two matches. With the additions of Lin Quan and De Bruyne, Werder Bremen's attacking firepower this season is no less than last season. However, the team's defensive problems remain, so he has begun to look for a defender in the transfer market. He first made a €1.5 million offer for Liberec defender Theodor Selassie, 26. Liberec were the Czech First League champions last season and will participate in the Champions League next season. Therefore, they were unwilling to sell their players at a low price at this time, and they rejected Werder Bremen's offer outright, stating that Selassie was not for sale. However, because the Czech First League is of a lower level and has less attention, it is difficult for them to retain players who have received offers from the top 5 leagues. If the other party makes a compelling offer, they will eventually agree to the player's transfer. Schuff understood this perfectly well. After all, leagues in Eastern Europe, such as those in the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, and even Ukraine, were essentially Bundesliga territory. If they wanted to buy players from these regions, unless they were simultaneously targeted by top clubs from the 5 major leagues, they could acquire them without hesitation. Therefore, he added €300,000 to his initial offer of €1.5 million, submitting a further offer of €1.8 million. Liberec was swayed by this offer. They didn't consider Selassie an indispensable starter. If they received the €1.8 million from Werder Bremen, they could use the transfer market to buy and nurture some young talents. If even one of these young talents developed into a star, they would have made a profit. Therefore, they accepted Werder Bremen's offer, and the transfer was completed. Selassie could play as a fullback and winger, making him a versatile player. However, the team's center-back position still needed strengthening, and they needed to continue acquiring players. Before making any signings, he first needed to acquire Socrates Papastathopoulos, the team's key center-back on loan from Genoa. The Greek player, 24 years old, is in his prime, and 2 years ago his market value was already as high as €8 million. However, after joining AC Milan in the 2009-2010 season, due to intense competition within the team, he didn't get enough playing time, causing his value to plummet to €2 million. Last season, Werder Bremen loaned him, and his performance earned him widespread recognition from fans and the club. Schuff believes he is a very talented and promising player, so he offered €2 million to buy him outright. Genoa, while not planning to recall Papastathopoulos, also didn't want to sell him so cheaply. Especially given his excellent performance in the Bundesliga last season, €2 million wasn't enough to entice them. Therefore, they rejected Werder Bremen's offer and hinted that at least €5 million would be needed to acquire the Greek player. This price exceeded Werder Bremen's bottom line. Schuff gritted his teeth and raised the offer to €3.5 million, telling Genoa that this was Werder Bremen's bottom line and they wouldn't bite for more. Genoa immediately agreed to the deal, making coach Schuff realize he'd been tricked, and he was furious. But despite his anger, he knew he'd gotten a great deal, €3.5 million for a starting center-back who could play for the team for at least 7 or 8 seasons. It was a steal. Moreover, given Socrates Papastathopoulos' performance in the Bundesliga last season, if he continued his excellent form this season, he was very likely to be noticed by some top clubs. If the team wanted to resell him, they wouldn't have to worry about finding a buyer, and could even make a huge profit. So he notified the club to quickly sign Papastathopoulos. After buying 2 defenders, Werder Bremen's budget was almost exhausted. Therefore, they could only sign Fortuna Düsseldorf center-back Lukemia on a free transfer, essentially signing him for free. Although Lukemia was a free agent, his ability was considerable. He was a key defender in Düsseldorf's push for the Bundesliga last season, and he was originally slated to transfer to FC Köln. However, Köln's unexpected relegation last season caused the transfer to fall through. Not wanting to play in a lower league, he readily accepted Werder Bremen's offer. After signing 3 defenders and promoting a young player from their youth academy, the financially constrained Werder Bremen concluded their transfer activities for the season. This summer, Werder Bremen earned €11.25 million from player sales and spent €6.25 million on player purchases and loans. This resulted in a net profit of €5 million, a modest windfall. Unlike Werder Bremen's thrifty and meticulous approach to budgeting, this year saw European football's wealthy clubs spending lavishly in the transfer market, frantically buying up their desired players. Russian Premier League giants Zenit St. Petersburg's €50 million bid for Porto striker Hulk showcased the formidable financial power of Russian oligarchs. Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain's €42 million transfer from AC Milan for their star defender Thiago Silva nearly broke the record for the highest transfer fee for a defender, demonstrating the extravagance of Middle Eastern tycoons. Not to be outdone, Bundesliga giants Bayern Munich acquired Athletic Bilbao's star defender Javi Martinez for €40 million. This transfer shattered the Bundesliga transfer record, raising the bar from €33 million to €40 million. Athletic Bilbao, Martinez's club, didn't want to release him, so Bayern Munich had to pay the release clause and forcibly acquire him. This transfer also gave Bayern the final piece of their championship puzzle. The frenzy of the wealthy clubs seemed to ignite the enthusiasm of other top clubs to buy players. They all made their moves. Chelsea bought Hazard from Lille for £32 million. Real Madrid acquired Modric from Tottenham for £30 million. Arsenal's captain, Van Persie, transferred to Manchester United for £24 million. A barrage of transfer news kept people busy, none of which were originally relevant to Lin Quan and others. However, in Barcelona, World Sports Daily revealed a rumour. A Scottish Premiership club offered €5 million to Barcelona to bring Lin Quan from their youth team to play in the Scottish Premiership. Because the report was short and had no follow-up, it was quickly forgotten. Lin Quan was completely unaware of it. But, on the Barcelona side, some people couldn't sit still. Damn it, what did that kid do? Why are there already offers before the Bundesliga even starts? There might be a recommendation this Sunday, so please don't leave the book unread. Just click and take a look. Chapter 30: The Panenka Penalty and the German Football Association's Invitation. July 29, Werder Bremen traveled to Germany to face Paderborn, a team from the 2. Bundesliga, in their final friendly of the month. Coach Schaff made no changes to the starting lineup in midfield and attack, instead focusing on adjusting the defense. Paderborn finished 5th in the 2. Bundesliga last season, not far from the promotion zone. Therefore, their club president is ambitious and wants to achieve promotion to the Bundesliga. To this end, they have made significant signings this season, acquiring several strong players. Thus, in terms of overall strength, they are stronger than their previous friendly opponent, Energy Cottbus. Both Werder Bremen and Paderborn are attack-minded teams with weak defenses, making this a truly intense and exciting match. In the 13th minute of the first half, the home team Paderborn took the lead. Just 5 minutes later, Werder Bremen equalized on a counter-attack. In the 28th minute, Werder Bremen scored directly from a free kick, making the score 2-1. In first half stoppage time, Werder Bremen had a golden opportunity, but De Bruyne's shot hit the post and bounced out. After half-time, the two sides switched ends. In the 53rd minute, substitute Lin Quan dribbled into the opponent's penalty area and was tripped by a defender, resulting in a penalty kick. Because Captain Fritz, the team's first-choice penalty taker, was rested, Schaff let Lin Quan take the penalty himself. Taking a penalty kick is a test of a player's mental fortitude, and he wanted to use this opportunity to observe Lin Quan's ability to withstand pressure and his mental fortitude. Lin Quan, with 8 years of professional experience like Messi, was already used to taking penalties. He stood at the penalty spot, observed the goalkeeper's position, and then began his run-up. As he approached the ball, he suddenly used a change of pace to deceive the goalkeeper, and as the goalkeeper instinctively made a save, he kicked the ball. Seeing that Lin Quan touched the ball with his toe, Coach Schaff jumped to his feet. This kid, he's too daring. He actually dared to take a penalty kick like that. The ball soared high, not fast, but with a high arc it flew over the head of the goalkeeper, who had just made a diving save, and nestled into the goal. Lin Quan scored a Panenka penalty, making the score 3-1. This kid, his mental fortitude is amazing. Most players would play it safe, but he went for it, using a Panenka. Coach Schaff breathed a sigh of relief after seeing the goal. He couldn't help but complain to his colleagues after sitting down. Yet, I think it's possible that the Panenka was the safest option for him. Hnebach's words silenced everyone. For the next few minutes, neither side could change the score. The final score remained 3-1, and Werder Bremen secured their third consecutive win in the preseason friendlies. Lin Quan, who played in all 3 matches, also earned 3 valuable points. Unfortunately, the team had no more friendlies before the end of the second phase of training. In other words, he wouldn't have any matches to play for the next 2 weeks, which made him somewhat melancholy. The day he could acquire top-tier talent was still a long way off. Just as Lin Quan was worrying about not having any matches, at the headquarters of the German Football Association, DFB, officials were discussing the number of teams invited to the German Telecom Cup this season with the sponsor, the telecommunications company T-Home. The German Telecom Cup was founded in 2009, formerly known as the German League Cup. Sponsored by the renowned telecommunications company T-Home, The tournament is held annually. Each competition features 4 teams, the regular invitees of the previous season's Bundesliga champions and runners-up, plus 1 mid-table team and 1 relegation-threatened team. Because of the relatively small number of participating teams, the rules are simple. The German Telekom Cup uses a random draw to play 2 semi-final matches, with the winners advancing to the final, and the 2 losers playing a third-place match, for a total of 4 matches. Therefore, the prize money is not high, with the champion receiving only €300,000. However, the opportunity to compete at such a high level before the start of the season, allowing teams to test the success of their signings, is still quite attractive to the invited teams. To avoid disrupting team preparations, the Telekom Cup is relatively short, with all 4 matches scheduled within 2 days. Each match is also limited to 30 minutes per half. If the score is tied after 60 minutes, a penalty shootout decides the winner. This unique format has historically led to numerous upsets in the Telekom Cup. Even giants like Bayern Munich have frequently stumbled. Since its inception, the Bundesliga giants have never won the Telekom Cup. This season, the first 3 invited teams have been confirmed: last season's Bundesliga champions Borussia Dortmund, runners-up Bayern Munich, and Hamburg, who narrowly avoided relegation last season by a single point. These 3 teams are easy to choose from, but which mid-table team should be selected? The German Football Association and the sponsors have differing opinions on this question. According to the German Football Association, DFB, the Bundesliga has 18 teams, and the mid-table teams are expected to be either 9th or 10th. These 2 teams are Werder Bremen, 9th, and Nuremberg, 10th. However, sponsors felt that the cities where these teams are located were too small, which would hinder promotion, and therefore wanted to choose Stuttgart, a large city. Stuttgart is Germany's 6th largest city, with a larger population and greater commercial value. Holding the Telekom Cup there would have a stronger advertising effect for sponsors. The 2 sides were deadlocked, with the DFB insisting that the rules couldn't be broken. Football is a national sport in Germany with enormous commercial value, so there's no shortage of sponsors. The reason for partnering with T-Home was solely because they are a local company, and the past cooperation had been very pleasant. If they became arrogant and started interfering with the DFB's work, the DFB wouldn't mind finding another sponsor, such as Volkswagen. Upon hearing this, T-Home immediately backed down, expressing respect for the DFB's choice. Seeing that the other party had compromised, the German Football Association, DFB, also gave them face, choosing Werder Bremen, a slightly larger city, over Nuremberg. Soon, the DFB's invitation was delivered to the club's head coach, Schaff. Upon seeing the invitation, Schaff hesitated. Should he accept or not? Accepting the invitation meant the chance to receive the €300,000 bonus and a share of ticket sales. However, it would disrupt the team's training schedule. Moreover, 2 matches in 2 consecutive days would be a test for the players. The veteran players might be fine, but for the younger players, especially those who had never played in the Bundesliga, it was a huge challenge. Especially since they were very likely to face strong teams like Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. If they were to suffer a crushing defeat, the confidence built up from their previous 3-game winning streak would likely be completely wiped out. Therefore, he didn't make the decision himself, but instead summoned the coaching staff, and also called in Lin Quan and De Bruyne, the 2 best-performing young players, to ask for their opinions. Upon hearing that there was still a match to play, and against the Bundesliga champions and runners-up no less, Lin Quan's eyes lit up. This was a match worth 2 points. He absolutely had to go. Chapter 31 Bayern Munich's Invitation. Bayern Munich, Bavaria, Germany. The invitation to participate in the Deutsche Telekom Cup is a minor matter for Bayern. They don't care much about it. Compared to the Telekom Cup, their performance next season is what truly matters. The Bundesliga giants have had a dismal run of the last few seasons, going 2 years without a title. Last season, they were first defeated twice by direct rivals Borussia Dortmund in the league, and then suffered a humiliating 2-5 defeat to the same opponent in the German Cup final, completely outmatched by Dortmund. This was a disgrace for Bayern Munich. If their league disappointment could be exchanged for a Champions League trophy, it wouldn't be unacceptable. However, it's heartbreaking that the team has also failed to win a single Champions League title. In the 2010-2011 season, they were eliminated in the round of 16, and in the 2011-2012 season, they were eliminated in the final. Bayern Munich desperately wanted to write a huge disaster on the ground. Fortunately, under the leadership of veteran coach Jupp Heynckes, the team's form steadily improved. Reaching the Champions League final last season was already a good proof, and given more time, he was sure to lead Bayern back to its peak. However, in this situation, Heynckes suddenly considered retiring, catching everyone at Bayern off guard. Bayern Munich knows very well how important a good coach is. Their previous renowned coach, Louis van Gaal, led the team to its worst start in history, suffering defeats in the League, Cup, and Champions League. This angered the club, leading to his dismissal before the season even ended, and the return of veteran coach Heynckes. It proved that the veteran coach was a better fit for Bayern. After taking over, Heynckes not only stopped the decline but also led Bayern to the Champions League final. Had it not been for a bit of bad luck, losing to Chelsea in a penalty shootout, the team would have won the Champions League trophy last year. This season, Bayern's young players have further developed, and the team's tactical system has become increasingly mature. They are determined to win the league title and even the Champions League this season. Winning these two important trophies would signify Bayern's return to the top level in Europe. But just as they were brimming with confidence and planning to rebuild the Bayern dynasty, Jupp Heynckes announced his retirement. This left everyone at Bayern somewhat bewildered. Born in 1945, Heynckes is indeed 67 years old and quite advanced in years. However, even Sir Alex Ferguson, the Manchester United manager 4 years his senior, hasn't retired. The veteran manager could easily stay on for a few more years. Faced with club president Karl-Heinz Rummenigge's attempt to persuade him, the veteran coach shook his head. "President Rummenigge, thank you for your pleas and your strong support over the years. However, I've made my decision. You know I'm not one to live in the spotlight. At 68, I'm getting a bit too old for me. Continuing to lead the team in competitions, I'm afraid my old bones can't handle it. Besides, I want to retire while I'm still able to move around, go home to grow flowers and enjoy rural life. So, please don't try to persuade me to stay. I promise you, I will lead the team to the end of this season, and I will only leave the team after the last game. During this time, you will have enough time to contact other excellent coaches. Listen to their coaching philosophies, and find the most suitable candidate for Bayern. Of course, I can provide you with some references and suggestions if necessary." Heynckes was just informing the club so they could prepare in advance. Otherwise, if he suddenly announced his retirement next year and the club hadn't found a suitable successor, Bayern would definitely be in chaos. Hearing Heynckes' words, Rummenigge was very disappointed. Good coaches are hard to find. In today's football world, most of the best coaches are already signed, making poaching them difficult. While Bayern Munich dominates the Bundesliga, their financial resources are simply no match for the top clubs in the top 5 European leagues. Therefore, Rummenigge was deeply troubled when he heard Heynckes was retiring. He even considered bringing back Hitzfeld, the legendary coach of the Swiss national team, but quickly dismissed the idea. The team's previous poor performance had proven that Hitzfeld's methods were outdated and no longer suitable for the current squad. He needed to find a coach with outstanding coaching abilities and a unique understanding of the latest football tactics, especially possession-based tactics. "Chairman, there's someone who seems to fit our requirements, and he's currently unemployed. Why don't we extend an invitation to him and try contacting him?" Club manager Uli Hoeneß immediately thought of someone upon hearing Rummenigge's request. Moreover, he had heard rumors that this person had visited Germany a few months ago, perhaps receiving a coaching offer from a Bundesliga team. If so, it proved that the person might be considering coaching in the Bundesliga. In the entire Bundesliga, Bayern Munich fears no one except Borussia Dortmund, and Klopp of Dortmund isn't going to leave anytime soon. Therefore, the club that invited that person wouldn't be Dortmund. If it wasn't Dortmund, Bayern Munich was confident they could snatch him away. "Who?" Rummenigge asked curiously. "Former Barcelona coach, Guardiola." "Him." Hearing this name, Rummenigge's eyes lit up. There are many top coaches in football today, but only two have achieved the most prominence, Guardiola and Mourinho. Both are among the best in football in terms of both ability and reputation, especially the former. Guardiola's possession-based system has swept the entire football world in recent years, becoming a model for the world. Inviting him to coach Bayern Munich and bring his Barcelona approach to Bayern would be a game-changer for the club. Just thinking about it made Rummenigge incredibly excited. Now, only one question remained: will Guardiola agree to our invitation? He was a little unsure. Guardiola had even given up Barcelona. Would he really accept Bayern's offer? The Bundesliga's competitiveness was significantly lower than La Liga's, and its commercial development wasn't as strong, so it had never been very attractive to top coaches. How will we know if we don't try? I heard his adopted son plays in the Bundesliga, and that team happens to be our opponent in next month's Telecom Cup. I think we can invite him under the guise of watching the Telecom Cup match. Once he arrives, Chairman, you can personally meet with him to show your sincerity. Whether it works out depends on the outcome of the meeting. Honus's preparations were clearly very thorough. He had even investigated Lin Quan's relationship with Guardiola and his Bundesliga experience beforehand. Clearly, inviting Guardiola to coach wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision, but a long-planned strategy. Rummenigge stared at Honus for a few seconds, then the two exchanged a knowing smile. I'll leave this to you. Don't mess it up. Regarding updates, many readers have been urging me to update more, saying I'm updating too slowly. I have to admit I haven't been updating much, only 2 chapters a day. Although I'm not a fast writer, I do have some drafts saved up. Unfortunately, it's the new book season, so I can't release too many chapters. I haven't been on the trial promotion yet, and normally, it should be available after 30,000 to 40,000 words. I've already reached 80,000 words, a week late. If I update too much now, the subsequent recommendations might not be completed before the word count for release. So, I have to save my drafts and release them all at the time of release. Please understand. I'll save up more drafts during this period and release them all at once, with a minimum of 10 chapters guaranteed. Of course, you can also urge me to update more, 1 extra chapter for every 5,000 Kydian coins donated, and 1 extra chapter for every 100 monthly tickets. That's all for now. I'm going to go right now. I'll try to save up dozens or even hundreds of chapters. Chapter 32. Fate brings us together again. We really drew Bayern Munich. Sant'Epido, Catalonia. Guardiola was discussing with his girlfriend, Silla, where to take their wedding photos and where to hold the ceremony. Finally having some free time, he wanted to make up for the years he had neglected his girlfriend. Their relationship had lasted over 15 years, and it would be a shame not to tie the knot soon. This place is great. It's near the sea, and there's a castle. We can invite friends and family to the wedding without being bothered by reporters. Okay, let's go with this place then. But who are you planning to invite? Sella looked at Guardiola curiously. She knew he had many friends in the football world, but she wondered if he would invite them. Let's keep it as low-key as possible, so I won't invite too many people. I don't want our wedding to be disturbed by too many people. Guardiola considered it for a moment and decided not to send out invitations widely, only inviting his closest friends. Okay, you decide for yourself, but you need to let Lin know beforehand. I'm worried he won't have time to come back for our wedding. I'll call him. You don't need to worry. Guardiola said. Lin Quan had been in the Bundesliga for 2 months. During this time, he had been busy with vacation and wedding preparations, and since the Bundesliga hadn't started yet, he hadn't paid much attention to things there. It was time to contact him, otherwise, the kid might think his father had abandoned him. Thinking of this, Guardiola took out his phone, ready to call Lin Quan. But just then, his phone rang. Someone was calling. Seeing it was an unfamiliar number, Guardiola frowned. However, seeing the caller ID indicated it was from Germany, Guardiola answered the call anyway. Werder Bremen, since accepting the invitation from the German Football Association, had entered a state of intense preparation. The 4 teams participating in this year's Telecom Cup have all been confirmed. Apart from Hamburg, the other 2 teams are significantly stronger than Werder Bremen. And not just by a little, but by at least a level. Therefore, Coach Schaff has pragmatically prepared a defensive strategy against these 2 teams, intending to use a counter-attacking tactic. In this counter-attacking game, Werder Bremen must capitalize on their limited opportunities, otherwise, they are likely to lose. Therefore, after careful consideration, Coach Schaff decided to include Lin Quan in the starting lineup, utilizing his excellent scoring ability to enhance the team's counter-attacking power. Of course, such important decisions require discussion with the player himself, as Lin Quan is still young and has never started before. Lin, I'm planning to put you in the starting lineup for the next game. Do you have any problems? I mean, any issues with your stamina? Coach Schaff spoke frankly, without beating around the bush. Previously, he might have worried about Lin Quan's unstable mentality and lack of match experience, But after observing him for so many days, he no longer had any concerns about these aspects. The only concern now is stamina. 16 or 17 is a crucial time for adolescents, a second peak in development. Boys at this age are generally thinner and have less stamina than adults, making it difficult for them to play a full match. In a regular 90-minute game, Schaff wouldn't easily include Lin Quan in the starting lineup. However, the Telecom Cup match is only 60 minutes long, with 2 30-minute halves and a 15-minute break in between. The pressure on the player's stamina isn't particularly high. If Lin Quan feels confident, he can give it a try. If he lacks confidence, he'll cancel the plan and bring him on in the second half as usual. Hearing the coach's words, Lin Quan thought carefully. He plays as a striker, and the team employs an extreme counter-attacking strategy, so he doesn't need to track back too deeply, he only needs to contribute offensively. Therefore, the test of his stamina won't be too great, and playing the full match shouldn't be a problem. If all else fails, he can use a point from the system to exchange for a stamina potion. Thinking this, Lin Quan nodded solemnly. "Don't worry, coach, leave it to me." That evening, the draw for the Telecom Cup began. Werder Bremen was unlucky enough to draw Bayern Munich, a result that left the players with disappointed expressions. "If only we had drawn Hamburg. With Hamburg, we would have had a much better chance of advancing to the next round." Now, although Bayern Munich's performance in the Bundesliga over the past 2 seasons had been poor, their overall strength was undeniable. Their player quality and squad depth were far superior to Werder Bremen's. Fortunately, this was just a cup competition, the kind where upsets were very common, so Werder Bremen wasn't entirely without a chance. The odds of drawing Hamburg are too low. We and Hamburg were just dragged in to make up the numbers. The main players in the Telecom Cup are Dortmund and Bayern Munich, so they definitely won't be matched up against each other in the first round. That would ruin the final, and the sponsors wouldn't be happy. That's right. Giving these two teams a weak opponent in the first round to warm them up, and then having them deliver a clash of titans in the final, that's the ideal scenario. Ahem, I agree that Hamburg is a weak opponent, but I disagree with the idea that we're weak too. Haha, we weren't much better than Hamburg last season, so calling us weak isn't an exaggeration. But this season we have Lin and Kevin, it's a completely different story from last season. Seeing the players joking and laughing, the coaching staff breathed a sigh of relief. They had been worried that the players would be intimidated by their opponent's strength and become hesitant, resulting in poor performance. Now it seemed they had worried unnecessarily. Werder Bremen's players have maintained a very positive mindset this season. They understand they are only a relegation-threatened team, so they feel no pressure facing teams like Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. Losing to them is expected, nothing surprising. On the contrary, an upset would be a huge bonus. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich's players were also pleased with the draw. Looks like our first-round opponent is good, not too strong or too weak, perfect for warming up. Hopefully Dortmund won't be eliminated by Hamburg, then we can avenge last year's 3 defeats in the final. The players were eager to get back at Dortmund. As for Werder Bremen? Who cares about such a trash team? Chapter 33 You are a bunch of trash. 2012, 7 p.m. The Allianz Arena was brightly lit and flags fluttered. The 75,000-seat stadium was packed with approximately 50,000 people. The vast majority of the stands were occupied by Bayern Munich fans in red jerseys, with only about 2,000 Werder Bremen fans in green jerseys in a corner of the east stand. Bayern Munich is located in Bavaria, in southern Germany, while Werder Bremen is in northern Germany, a considerable distance apart. Furthermore, Bayern had limited tickets available to away fans, resulting in a smaller number of Bremen supporters. Before the match began, the players from both teams were warming up. In contrast to the largely ignored Werder Bremen players, Bayern players like Robben, Ribéry, Lahm, Gomez, and Schweinsteiger received a warm welcome from the crowd as soon as they entered the pitch. Not only these established stars, but even young players like Kroos, Thomas Müller, and Alaba received applause upon their entrance. If a Bayern player made a brilliant move on the field, it would immediately draw enthusiastic cheers from the home fans. As for the Werder Bremen players, they were naturally ignored by the home crowd. They didn't even bother to boo, seemingly feeling that the Werder Bremen players weren't worth their attention. On the pitch, Lin Quan was practicing free kicks with De Bruyne. Seeing this, he nudged De Bruyne's shoulder and asked, "How's it going? Nervous?" De Bruyne looked at him questioningly and asked, "Why should I be nervous?" I've seen this kind of thing before when I played at Stamford Bridge. Lin Quan scoffed. Chelsea's shabby home ground couldn't compare to the Allianz Arena, could it? But seeing that De Bruyne wasn't nervous at all, he breathed a sigh of relief. Whether they could win this match depended not only on whether the defense could withstand Bayern's powerful attack, but also on the performance of these two players. De Bruyne was the attacking core in the front court. His passes directly determined the quality of Werder Bremen's counter-attacks. If he gets too nervous and isn't in good form, then the game will likely be in serious trouble. 20 minutes later, the warm-up for both teams ended. The players returned to the locker room one after another to prepare for the final pre-match preparations. Seeing that the players had all changed into their gear, Schaff clapped his hands and gathered everyone together. "SHH, listen quietly, what's that sound outside? I'm telling you, that's Bayern fans singing the team's anthem, called Always Number One. Don't you think Bayern fans are arrogant? Huh, always number one? How can there be a team that's always at the top? But in the Bundesliga, Bayern is fucking number one, always fucking number one. Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach, and even Werder Bremen have all challenged them, but they were all short-lived. No one could pull them off their throne. They have 21 Bundesliga titles, 15 German Cup titles, and 4 Champions League titles. And us? Our last league title was 10 years ago. So, before the match, nobody thought we were going to lose, everyone thought we were doomed. Don't you all think so too?" Thomas Schaff swept his sharp gaze across the players, and no one dared to meet his eyes. Those whose gaze fell upon him almost instinctively lowered their heads. Lin Quan stared blankly at him. "Damn it, has the coach taken the wrong medicine today? Why is he swearing? Isn't he usually so gentle and refined? So surprised?" Lin Quan momentarily forgot to avoid his gaze. Seeing that Lin Quan didn't avoid his gaze, Schaff paused for a moment, then revealed a satisfied expression. "This kid's got guts, a newborn calf isn't afraid of tigers." He continued, "Don't just say it's you guys, I think so too." This statement caused a huge uproar. The players all looked up in surprise at their head coach, seemingly doubting their ears. So, all that shouting earlier was because he wasn't sure himself. That's right, I'm not sure either, because Bayern Munich is stronger on paper. Every single one of their players is a star, their market value is more than 10 times higher than yours, and they earn dozens of times more money than you. Wherever they go, they enjoy the adoration of fans and the media, they own luxury cars and beautiful women. Compared to them, you're just a bunch of losers, you're nothing." The players' eyes turned angry. It was unclear whether it was the blatant comparison that ignited their anger, or the coach's belittling of them. What, angry? Not convinced? If you're not convinced, go to the field and beat them badly, drag them off their damn thrones, and trample them underfoot. If you're not convinced, prove to the world with your actions that you're no worse than them. Go tell those singing idiots that football isn't about who has more past honors or more trophies. It's not about who's more valuable, who earns more money, or who gets more spotlight. If that were the case, Real Madrid, with its Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, and other top stars, would have already dominated European football. Werder Bremen will crush every opponent who looks down on us. If you can't do that, then accept that you're trash, you're inferior to them, and you don't deserve victory. Tell me loudly, are you trash? No, the players shouted in unison. Are you women? Speak louder, I can't hear you. We're not trash. Good, then go prove yourselves on the field. Captain Fritz extended his hand, and the other players placed theirs on his. Werder Bremen. Charge. 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 The Werder Bremen players left the locker room in high spirits and went to the players' tunnel, ready to enter the field. Before they came out, the Bayern Munich players had already arrived in the tunnel. They had heard the commotion coming from the away team's locker room while they were still there. So when they saw the Werder Bremen players come out, they looked at their opponents with curiosity. Seeing their opponents' high spirits, the Bayern Munich players were somewhat surprised. What's wrong with them? Playing against Bayern and still so high-spirited? Do they think they can win at the Allianz Arena? At 7:30 p.m., both teams entered the field on time, led by the referee. Lin Quan's first official match after joining Werder Bremen kicked off. Please vote and give monthly tickets. Chapter 34, Match against Bayern Munich. CCTV, CCTV, viewers, this is CCTV bringing you the 2012 Deutsche Telekom Cup semi-final, Bayern Munich vs Werder Bremen. This is commentator Hiwei. This is Su Yang. Today, the team wearing red jerseys is the home team, Bayern Munich, and the team wearing green jerseys is the away team, Werder Bremen. Bayern Munich's formation is 4-2-3-1, and their starting lineup is 1 Neuer, 30 Gustavo, 28 Badstuber, 17 Boateng, 21 Lahm, 39 Cruz, 36 Emre Can, 11 Shaqiri, 25 Muller, 10 Robben, 33 Gomez. Werder Bremen's formation is 4-3-3, and their starting lineup is, the starting lineups are 1. Millet, 13. Schmitz, 15. Prudl, 22. Socrates, 23. Selassie, 16. Junozovic, 8. Fritz, 6. De Bruyne, 11. Elia, 10. Lin Quan, 7. Arnautovic. Both teams have very young squads. It's worth mentioning that Werder Bremen's starting lineup includes a player of Chinese descent. Su Yang chimed in, yes, his name is Lin Quan. He's on loan from Barcelona's youth team, and this is his first official match for Werder Bremen. Commentator Hui, staring at the starting lineups in his hand, looked up information and said with a smile, this player is very young, only 16 years and 167 days old. This should be the youngest starting player in the history of the Telecom Cup. Coach Schaff seems very bold in his player selection. He's probably focusing on developing young players in this match. Su Yang nodded, indeed, for Werder Bremen, drawing Bayern Munich in their first match is really unlucky. Clearly, neither of them had high hopes for Werder Bremen, both believing Bayern would win. With a referee's whistle, the match officially began. After kicking off, Bayern immediately launched a fierce attack on Werder Bremen's half. Both sides played in the same league and knew each other's strengths well, so there was no need for probing. Attack was the only option. Heinz didn't field his full starting lineup for this match. Bayern's left winger Ribéry, midfielder Schweinsteiger, and striker Mandzukic were all on the bench. However, with a starting lineup, defeating Werder Bremen didn't seem difficult. The gap in strength between the two sides on paper was enormous. Although Lin Quan had prepared for this match beforehand, he still clearly felt the difference in strength once the game started. Compared to Werder Bremen's previous warm-up opponents, Bayern Munich was significantly stronger. Their teamwork, passing speed, and individual player abilities far surpassed those of the teams they had faced before. This made the game extremely fast-paced. A slight lapse in concentration could allow the opponent to capitalize and deliver a fatal blow. For the first 3 minutes, Bayern held possession, and Werder Bremen players didn't touch the ball once. Fortunately, Coach Schaff was prepared for this situation. After the start of the match, except for Lin Quan, the rest of the team dropped back, and Werder Bremen adopted a 4-1-4-1 formation. In midfield, they had 5 defenders, 1 deep lying to provide cover, while the other 4 formed a diamond formation, increasing their interception range to cut off passing lanes and quickly pressuring the ball carrier, denying them time and space to organize attacks. This tactic temporarily stifled Bayern's offensive momentum, and both sides engaged in a fierce midfield battle. On the sidelines, Heinz frowned slightly after seeing the opponent's tactics. This tactic was unlikely to contain Bayern's attack, given their current pace. A goal was only a matter of time. But what was Schaff thinking, placing a 16-year-old in the attacking third? Was he hoping to use this youngster to break down Bayern's defense? Or was he planning to exploit Neuer's tendency to push forward into wide-open spaces? Thinking this, Heinz glanced at his own goalkeeper. Sure enough, Neuer had once again moved to the edge of the penalty area, becoming the goalkeeper he preferred. However, he didn't send Neuer back. After all, Neuer often did this in the Bundesliga and even the Champions League, and Heinz had considerable faith in his abilities. Seeing the opponent's strong midfield and the difficulty of breaking through their defense, Bayern's players immediately changed tactics, specifically launching attacks from the flanks. In the 7th minute, Cruz spotted an opening on the wing and immediately passed a ball to Robben. To create an opportunity for Robben to break through and get rid of his defender, Cruz cleverly gave him a slight head start. Robben understood immediately and began his run, receiving the ball before the defender. The already speedy Robben then sprinted forward with the ball. Robben's speed was incredible. Werder Bremen's defenders were in hot pursuit but couldn't catch him. Junozovic tried to intercept but was fooled by a feint, and his hasty tackle failed, allowing Robben to get past him. After beating the second defender, Robben immediately cut inside. Being left-footed, he didn't have a weakness, allowing him to either shoot or pass, making him extremely dangerous. Seeing Robin cut inside to the edge of their penalty area, Werder Bremen's captain Fritz immediately came to cover. Fritz's movement created a brief defensive gap in front of Werder Bremen's penalty area, as De Bruyne hadn't yet tracked back in time. Bayern Munich's attacking midfielder, Thomas Müller, was unmarked. If Robin had passed the ball to him at that moment, Müller could have passed to the advancing Shaqiri, creating a one-on-one opportunity, or he could have shot directly. With Robin having disrupted Werder Bremen's defensive formation, passing the ball to an open teammate would certainly have created a better chance. However, unfortunately, Robin isn't a very team-oriented player. He has a nickname, the Lone Ranger. He believes in taking the final shot on any opportunity he creates. So, even seeing Werder Bremen's captain closing in, Robin dribbled laterally, slightly creating angle, and then shot. Fritz immediately tried to intercept, but missed the ball. Fortunately, Werder Bremen's goalkeeper was well prepared, anticipating the shot's trajectory and collecting the ball. Seeing the opposing goalkeeper save his shot, Robin shook his head, clearly dissatisfied with his decision. Müller, standing nearby, shrugged at his friend Cruz, obviously unhappy with Robin's choice. Just as the Bayern players were lamenting their wasted opportunity, the goalkeeper sprinted out and, near the edge of the penalty area, threw the ball to De Bruyne. De Bruyne knew he couldn't afford to waste time, he had to act quickly. So, after controlling the ball, he turned and, before the opposing defender could interfere, passed it to his right. Lin, charge. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. After dribbling past 3 players and breaching Bayern Munich's goal, Guardiola was extremely proud. Defense. Quick, retreat. Seeing the opponent launch a quick counter-attack, Bayern's captain Lahm shouted to his teammates as he charged towards Lin Quan. He only had Boateng by his side, the two didn't need to communicate, their understanding being perfectly in sync, one pressing forward, the other covering. While Lahm was calling for support, he didn't really take Lin Quan seriously. The opponent was simply too young. Such a young player, facing the immense pressure from the defenders, was likely to make a mistake in a moment of panic. His shouts, besides calling for support, were also a way to put psychological pressure on Lin Quan, letting him know that if he slowed down, the Bayern players would catch up. Therefore, he had to get past him as quickly as possible. And in this anxious state of mind, the opponent's intention to dribble would be very obvious. Lahm was a small defender, but his agility far surpassed that of a bulky, tall player. So, as soon as the opponent showed any signs of breaking through, he was confident he could intercept the ball. So, young lad, what will you choose? Lin Quan didn't even glance at Lahm, as if the man in front of him didn't exist. He looked up towards the goal. Neuer had already retreated to the penalty area. A direct lob was risky. Neuer's save ability was more than enough to make it. Boateng, behind Lahm, maintained a reasonable distance from his teammates. Even if Lin Quan managed to get past Lahm, he would lose speed and space. Boateng could easily dispossess him or clear the ball. So, he had to get past these two. Thinking this, Lin Quan adjusted his pace, making a move to break to the right. As a right winger, he had always dribbled with his right foot. So, Lahm saw his movement and decisively kicked, but just as he confidently thought he could intercept the ball, it vanished from his sight. What? Lahm was stunned. It was a feint. At that moment, Lin Quan was already dribbling with his left foot, charging towards Boateng. Boateng didn't even see how his teammate had been beaten before he saw the ball flying towards him. He instinctively wanted to kick the ball, but saw his other foot strike the ball, changing its direction. Boateng was relieved. Thankfully, he hadn't acted rashly. This guy's touch rate was astonishing. He had no chance of getting to the ball before him. This kid is something else. Boateng's internal alarm bells rang. He realized that he and his teammates had underestimated this young striker. He was definitely more threatening than he appeared. In fact, Boateng felt a slight sense of familiarity with him. It was as if he were facing Barcelona's number 10. Thinking of this, Boateng became even more cautious. He kept his eyes on the ball, retreating sideways, not giving Lin Quan a chance to break through. Although Lahm had been beaten, He hadn't been completely outmaneuvered. His short stature and low center of gravity allowed him to immediately turn and chase after Lin Quan. If he could hold out for a few seconds, the chasing Lon could join him in double-teaming the opponent. At that point, even Messi would be finished. Lin Quan obviously knew this too, so he began to actively approach Boateng. Seeing his opponent approach him, Boateng sensed something was wrong. He didn't know what his opponent was planning, but this move was clearly ill-intentioned. Just then, both players crossed the penalty area line. Seeing the white line on the ground, Boateng instantly understood his opponent's intention. Was this guy trying to draw a foul and get a penalty? He couldn't let his scheme succeed. Boateng immediately put his hands behind his back to avoid handball. At the same time, he tried to maintain a suitable distance to prevent his opponent from faking a foul. Seeing Boateng's actions, Lin Quan smiled. He flicked the ball to the left, and as Boateng's center of gravity shifted to that side, he immediately flicked the ball back to the right. Good for Boateng, he actually used his excellent physical ability to adjust his center of gravity back. But Lin Quan's action wasn't finished yet. He flicked the ball again, flicking it to the left side once more. And this time, he also changed direction while flicking the ball, increasing the distance between himself and Boateng. Boateng panicked and tried to turn and catch up, but he lost his balance and fell to the ground with a thud. A gasp rippled through the stadium. Their center-back had been outmaneuvered without any physical contact? What a joke. That guy was only 16. Not only were the fans stunned, but even the Bayern players on the field were taken aback. Lom, closest to the scene, saw Lin Quan get past Boateng and knew he couldn't catch him, so he pinned his hopes on the goalkeeper. Neuer, it's your turn. Neuer looked at Lin Quan with unwavering determination. He didn't give up but immediately charged towards Lin Quan. Neuer was tall with long arms, his outstretched arms covering a wide area. His decisive attack made it difficult for many forwards to get past him. However, Lin Quan wasn't intimidated. Seeing Neuer charging towards him, he dribbled past him, changing direction and creating space. Then, he took a step forward, easily getting past Neuer. Neuer's weight shifted, significantly reducing his mobility. He couldn't possibly catch Lin Quan at that moment and could only watch helplessly as his opponent beat him and slotted the ball into the empty net. In the 8th minute, Werder Bremen capitalized on a counter-attack, with Lin Quan scoring to make it 1-0. The Allianz Arena fell silent, the 50,000 fans were completely still. Only the 2,000 Werder Bremen fans in the East Stand, who had traveled with the team, erupted in a huge cheer after a brief moment of stunned silence. Their team had taken the lead. This was incredibly surprising and unexpected. Inside a luxury box at the Allianz Arena, the president and manager of Bayern Munich were entertaining a guest who had traveled from afar, former Barcelona coach Pep Guardiola. The two chatted while watching the game. After a conversation, Rummenigge greatly admired Guardiola's coaching philosophy and believed that he was the perfect person for Bayern Munich. He then wanted to probe Guardiola's opinion of the team. Guardiola, what do you think of the current Bayern squad? Guardiola, feeling it was his duty as a guest to speak well of his host, replied, Bayern's squad is excellent, with a perfect balance between attack and defense. Whether it's the attacking lineup in the front or the organization in defensive formation in the midfield and backline, they are among the best in European football. Seeing Guardiola's high praise for Bayern, Rummenigge was even more pleased. Haha, Guardiola, you flatter me. Our team's performance over the past few years hasn't been great. If our squad were really as good as you say, we wouldn't have gone 2 years without a title. Guardiola shook his head and said, every team experiences ups and downs, that's normal. Bayern reached the Champions League final last year, which proves your strength. I heard your son plays in the Bundesliga, Guardiola? Seeing that the chairman was very satisfied with Guardiola, Hoeneß tried to get closer to him, build a better relationship, and then naturally extend a coaching invitation. Yes, he plays for that team on the other side. Oh? What a coincidence. So, Guardiola, what do you think the result of this match will be? Who'll win? Guardiola thought for a moment and replied seriously, theoretically, Bayern will win, but the ball is round, and no one knows the outcome until the final whistle. Before he finished speaking, Werder Bremen launched a counter-attack. Lin Quan dribbled the ball at breakneck speed, beating 2 players before getting past the goalkeeper and slotting the ball into the net, changing the score. Guardiola smiled and spread his hands at the 2 players, saying with some pride, see? The ball is round, please vote and give monthly tickets. Chapter 36. The Bayern Munich president was moved and wanted to spend money to buy players. Let's look at this play. Kroos dribbles and passes to Robben, a beautiful pass. Kroos, despite his young age, has excellent vision and the composure of a great player. Of course, Robben's positioning was also brilliant. Robben dribbles past the defender, then another one. No wonder he's Robben, the Flying Dutchman lives up to his name. Fritz comes to cover, Robben should pass, oh wait, a shot. Too straight, the goalkeeper catches it. This play needs some thought, passing to Müller might have been better. Suyang added, if he had passed to Müller, Müller could have played a through ball to Shaqiri, who would have been one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and that goal might have been scored. Not over yet, Werder Bremen counter-attack. De Bruyne. He passed to Lin Quan. Lin Quan dribbles on the counter-attack, he's very fast, Lam tries to intercept but is beaten. Boateng. My god, Boateng was actually faked out. The camera was moving too fast, we didn't see it clearly. We can see how Boateng was faked out in the replay later. Neuer came out, good block, can't keep dribbling, there's no angle left. My god, he actually got past Neuer. Goal, 1-0. In the 8th minute of the first half, Werder Bremen took the lead through a goal by their number 10 youngster, Lin Quan, making his debut for the team. If you just turned on the TV, you might be surprised to see the score. Bayern Munich, playing at home, is currently trailing Werder Bremen 0-1. The goal for Werder Bremen was scored by their number 10 player, a 16-year-old winger. He was very excited, he's been commentating on football for quite some time. But he hasn't seen such a stunning young player in a long time. Suyang, standing nearby, exclaimed, this young Chinese-American player has truly surprised and delighted us. His dribbling and breakthrough abilities were on full display in that last attack. Even players as strong as Lam and Boateng were cleanly and efficiently beaten by him. Watching him play reminds me of Barcelona's number 10, the best winger in football today, Leo Messi. Yes, I feel the same way. He chimed in, he and Messi should belong to the same category of players. Not tall, but with excellent footwork, superb ball control, and sharp breakthroughs. Coincidentally, both of them came from the La Masia Youth Academy. Suyang joked, I think the Barcelona president would be overjoyed to see the goal. Just that one goal could probably increase Lin Quan's value by another 10 million euros. Given Lin Quan's current age and the strength he has shown, I don't think Barcelona will sell him easily. After all, there's a 9-year age gap between him and Messi. When Messi gets old, he can perfectly take over. Inside the Barcelona club, Enrique angrily slammed down the remote control. Lin Quan's goal made his face extremely grim. Panic, worry, anger, and confusion all swirled in his mind. How could those Bayern idiots not be able to defend against a 16-year-old? Enrique was genuinely panicked. He began to regret taking on this hot potato. Now, this goal had skyrocketed Lin Quan's value, and more teams would be interested in him. Before, only one team made an offer, now, a whole bunch of teams might come forward. But the problem was, his contract wasn't finalized yet. Even if they wanted to sell him and cash in, they couldn't. And if the team hadn't secured him by the time his contract expired and allowed him to leave for free, he would definitely be blamed and become the target of the fans' wrath. Thinking about this, Enrique felt extremely uneasy. Inside the VIP box, Rummenigge and Hoeneß stared at each other in disbelief. The team was already behind? Only 8 minutes had passed. Neither of them had even seen how the goal was scored. They only saw the opposing team's 16-year-old boy sprinting in celebration. It wasn't until the big screen replayed the goal that they understood what had happened. After watching, Hoeneß was furious. He was extremely dissatisfied with the team's defense, especially Boateng's performance. You're Bayern Munich starting center-back, how could you be so easily outmaneuvered by a rookie making his debut? Rummenigge, however, wasn't angry. Being down by 1 goal was nothing, there was still plenty of time, and Bayern would surely equalize. He smiled and said to Guardiola, congratulations, Coach Guardiola. Your son is so young, yet already so outstanding, his future is limitless. Hearing praise for his son, Guardiola felt incredibly happy. He was already tired of hearing compliments. However, he was quite susceptible to praise for his children. After all, every parent hopes their child will succeed. Haha, Chairman, you flatter me. He's still young, he has a long road ahead of him, 1 goal doesn't mean anything. Guardiola is too modest. In my many years of experience, for someone his age to have such a performance, he's already among the best of his peers. Rummenigge changed the subject, smiling, and said, "But what Guardiola said makes sense. The future of young players is uncertain. If they can't get into a good club and meet a great coach, their talent might be buried." Guardiola frowned, sensing a hidden meaning in the other's words. Rummenigge's invitation to watch the game at the Allianz Arena was indeed not as simple as it seemed. "Mr. Chairman, please speak frankly." Guardiola disliked cryptic talk and wasn't good at it. He was always straightforward, saying what he meant. If he wanted to give a player more playing time, he would tell him directly. If he wanted to take a player out of the starting lineup, he would also say so directly. Therefore, his relationship with the players wasn't particularly harmonious throughout his coaching career, especially in his final years at Bayern. The Champions League home defeat to Barcelona was clearly a consequence of a breakdown in the dressing room. Seeing that the other party had taken the initiative to ask, Rummenigge stopped beating around the bush. "Mr. Guardiola, we would like to invite you to coach Bayern Munich. If you agree, we can discuss the cooperation further. To show our sincerity, we can buy Lin Quan from Barcelona and bring him to the Allianz Arena. You can then personally mentor him and help him develop." Rummenigge's plan was well thought out. Inviting Guardiola to coach Bayern was his main objective. However, if they could also acquire Lin Quan, it would be a very worthwhile deal for Bayern. He had Hoeneß inquire about Lin Quan's contract with Barcelona. Lin Quan still had a youth team contract, and the release clause wasn't high, only €5 million. Before watching this match, Rummenigge was somewhat reluctant to spend €5 million on a 16-year-old player as a welcome gift. However, after seeing Lin Quan's outstanding performance, that initial reluctance completely vanished. If €5 million could buy such a young star with unlimited potential, it would be a huge win for Bayern. In fact, if he could continue this excellent performance, the team could consider him as a successor to Robben and Ribéry, maintaining Bayern's traditional advantage on the wings. Chapter 37 breaks two records. Neuer becomes the unfortunate background character. Lin Quan's goal greatly boosted Werder Bremen's morale. After he scored, almost all the players, including goalkeeper Militz, ran over to join the celebration. "Well done, Lin. Keep it up to them." The players hugged him, patted his head, or patted his back, offering their congratulations and encouragement in various ways. Captain Fritz gave Lin Quan a hug and patted him hard on the back, saying, "Keep up the good work and try to beat them a few more times." De Bruyne chimed in, "I'll pass you the ball, just make sure you get open." Goalkeeper Militz suggested, "How about I just kick it long from the back to you? That way we can get around their midfield and attack." Lin Quan pointed to his height and said helplessly, "Sebastian, I appreciate your kindness, but if you kick it long, I might not be able to get the ball. Heading is too difficult for someone my height, isn't it?" His teammates, seeing the height difference between Lin Quan and goalkeeper Militz, burst into laughter. "It is a bit difficult. How about we have Arnautovic set you up?" Lin Quan instinctively looked at the tall man beside him. Arnautovic was 192 centimeters tall and had excellent heading ability. Having him contest a header would be a good option. But would he agree to have the team's star striker play second fiddle? "No problem, leave it to me." To everyone's surprise, Arnautovic agreed without hesitation. "It seems the Austrian just looks fierce. He's actually quite easy to talk to." Neuer stood with his hands on his hips, looking angrily at Lin Quan, who was surrounded by his teammates. The opponent scored on his debut, breaking the records for youngest starter and youngest goal scorer. And he was merely the backdrop for one of those records. This made him extremely frustrated. He had done his best, but still couldn't stop a goal. The problem lay with the defense, but he didn't blame his teammates. It was just a goal conceded, no need to cheer up. Don't underestimate them just because they're weak. Neuer clapped his hands loudly, shouting to his teammates. Lom gave him an apologetic look and exchanged a glance with Boateng. Both of them were determined to defend this guy well in the upcoming matches and absolutely not give him any more chances. On the coaching bench, Schaff couldn't help but stand up when he saw Lin Quan receive the ball, and only sat down after Lin Quan scored, a satisfied smile on his face. This kid, he really is a big game player. He didn't falter or get stage fright in this situation. It seems we can consider giving him more tactical options. In contrast, the other coaches on the bench rushed to the sidelines like madmen after Lin Quan scored, hugging each other and shouting, "Damn it! God, how could that go in?" The other side just got lucky. On the Bayern bench, seeing the opponent score, the Bayern substitutes and assistant coaches all looked constipated, finding the result hard to accept. Heinz only frowned slightly when he saw the opponent score first. This number 10 from Werder Bremen had surprised him greatly. The opponent possessed a mentality and experience beyond his age. Lum had set several traps for him when he was defending him, but he had avoided them all. This is the kind of experience only seasoned players possess, and it's unexpected to see it in a 16-year-old. Either the opponent is slow to react and didn't notice Lum's trap, or he's an absolute genius capable of ignoring defensive traps. He hoped it was the former. Because if he really was a genius, Bayern would likely be in trouble. So, before the restart, Heinz called Kroos over. After the restart, tell your teammates to increase the tempo of the game. Also, assign someone to mark their number 10. Discuss the specifics with Lum. In short, don't give him comfortable space to receive the ball. Kroos nodded heavily. With Schweinsteiger absent, he would be the backbone of Bayern's midfield. This was a considerable challenge for the young Kroos. The game quickly restarted. After the restart, Bayern seemed unaffected by the conceded goal, continuing their siege of Werder Bremen's goal. In the 11th minute, Robben's breakthrough on the right wing drew a foul from a Werder Bremen player, and the referee gave Werder Bremen's number 16, Junozovic, a yellow card. 2 minutes later, Robben struck again. Affected by his yellow card, Junozovic hesitated to make any big moves in defense, allowing Robben to easily get past him. This time, Robben seemed to realize that attacking wasn't a one-man show, so after his breakthrough, he immediately passed to Müller, who was following up in the middle. Müller, without controlling the ball, made a brilliant one-touch pass to Shaqiri, who quickly started his run, received the ball, and fired a shot. It was a good opportunity, but unfortunately, his shot went just wide of the goal, leaving Bayern fans dejected. In the 16th minute, Bayern Munich won the ball back in the attacking third, and Müller's through ball pierced Werder Bremen's defense. Bayern striker, Gomez, received the ball in the penalty area, turned and shot despite being pressured by two defenders, but his shot hit the post and bounced out. This goal startled Werder Bremen fans. The opponent's shot opportunity wasn't great, but the quality was extremely high. If it weren't for the goal post, the score might have been tied. For the next few minutes, Bayern besieged Werder Bremen's goal. Bayern raised the pace of the game to a very high level, causing Werder Bremen to struggle to keep up and make frequent mistakes. De Bruyne and Lin Quan were completely marked by Bayern players, making it difficult for them to receive passes from their teammates. Without the ball, Werder Bremen's counter-attack stalled, and they were completely dominated. This couldn't continue. Prolonged defense inevitably leads to defeat. Sure enough, in the 23rd minute, Bayern executed a brilliant attacking move. After a series of passes, Werder Bremen's defensive formation was disrupted. Robben's shot was saved by the goalkeeper, but Thomas Müller cleverly followed up and scored. The score was now 1-1. After scoring, Müller was ecstatic. He ran to the sidelines, raised his arm to the crowd, and asked for applause. Bayern fans immediately erupted in cheers and applause. Other Bayern players excitedly ran over to join the celebration. As Lum passed Lin Quan, he deliberately said, "Kid, you can't beat us." Lin Quan glanced at him, ignored him, and turned back to his own half to comfort his teammates. He didn't like arguing, he preferred to prove himself with actions rather than empty words. Today is the author's and protagonist Lin Quan's birthday, so an extra chapter is added to celebrate. Also, thank you to the readers for their donations. Thank you everyone. Chapter 38 Lin Quan vs Neuer. After conceding the goal, Werder Bremen's players looked frustrated. They were helpless after conceding. If it were their own mistake leading to the goal, they could try to make amends. But Bayern Munich simply used their superior individual skills and teamwork, using high-speed passing to tear apart Werder Bremen's defense. The opponent increased the pace too quickly, and Werder Bremen's players couldn't keep up, easily making defensive errors. And the opponent's ability to seize opportunities was exceptional. Any defensive gaps on Werder Bremen's side were easily exploited, leading to a change in the score. On the Bayern coaching bench, Heinz nodded in satisfaction after seeing his team equalize. Under his guidance, these players had become increasingly mature and stronger this season, truly embodying the spirit of not being arrogant in victory or discouraged in defeat. With their current form, Reclaiming the Bundesliga title this season shouldn't be a problem. Even last season's champions, Borussia Dortmund, couldn't stop them. They might even achieve something in the Champions League this year. On the away side, this goal woke Schaff up. Before the match, they had devised a defensive strategy, but because the team scored first, the players and he became somewhat relaxed and didn't strictly execute the tactics. This led to the goal conceded. If the midfielders had completely retreated to their own half, shortening the distance between themselves and the defense, and if Captain Fritz had dropped back a step, turning the formation into a five-man defense, the opponent's goal probably wouldn't have happened. Thinking of this, Schaff immediately shouted to his players, urging them to execute the pre-match plan. A 1-1 score wasn't unacceptable. After all, the match was only 60 minutes long. If it dragged on until the 60th minute, the two sides could decide the winner through a penalty shootout. Even if Bayern's strength was superior, it wouldn't matter, because penalty shootouts are more about luck. Sure enough, after the match restarted, facing Werder Bremen's defensive formation, Bayern couldn't find a way to break through. The 1-1 score remained until the end of the first half. Back in the locker room, Schaff praised the players' performance in the first half. He admitted his mistake, acknowledging that it was his carelessness in not reminding the players to drop back after scoring, which led to the subsequent goal conceded. This made the Werder Bremen players somewhat embarrassed. They knew in their hearts that the matter had little to do with the coach and was entirely their own fault. Alright, forget about the first half. Our primary task in the second half is defense. When attacking, don't pass the ball directly to Lin Quan like we did in the first half. The opponent marks him very closely, and it's difficult for him to receive the ball if we pass it directly to him. So, in the second half, when we counter-attack, we should focus on Arnautovic. Remember, don't overstay in midfield, lest we lose possession and allow the opponent to launch counter-attacks. Whenever there's an opportunity, launch long balls from the back. Arnautovic, if you can win the ball, do so. If not, try to disrupt the opponent's passing and give your teammates time to get into position defensively. The players had already discussed these points with Schaff. However, they were later besieged by the opponent, had little possession, and their counterattacks were rushed and lacked coordination, so the previously discussed tactics were not implemented effectively. Now, after Schaff emphasized a tactic, the players followed his instructions in the second half. The second half started quickly, and Werder Bremen made no personnel changes. However, Bayern Munich made two substitutions. Schweinsteiger, number 31, replaced Emmer, number 36, and Ribéry, number 7, replaced Shaqiri, number 11. Werder Bremen kicked off, and after a few passes, they quickly lost possession under pressure from Bayern players. Thus, the game seemed to return to the familiar scene of the first half, Bayern besieging the Werder Bremen goal. But this time, the difference was that Werder Bremen's backline was very densely packed. 10 of their 11 players were in their own half. Even Lin Quan himself would drop back to receive the ball, leaving Arnautovic lingering near the center circle. The densely packed defense made Bayern's attack very difficult, resulting in possession but no goals. Breaking down a dense defense is a global challenge. When a team is determined to defend, even top teams struggle to breach their defense. 2 months ago, the Chinese national team played a friendly against World Cup champion Spain. China parked the bus, and despite Spain's full-strength squad firing dozens of shots throughout the match, they couldn't break through. If it weren't for the Chinese players' fatigue and decreased concentration in the last 5 minutes, allowing David Silva to score, they might have managed a draw against the seemingly invincible Spanish national team. The gap in strength between Werder Bremen and Bayern Munich is far smaller than the gap between the Chinese and Spanish national teams. Therefore, with Bayern determined to park the bus, Bayern was like a hound encountering a hedgehog, unsure how to attack. Werder Bremen could accept a draw, with the outcome decided by penalties. Bayern couldn't accept this. So, Bayern intensified their attack, with defenders who were originally positioned near midfield joining the offensive, leaving only Boateng at the back. This gave Werder Bremen an opportunity. In the 46th minute, Ribéry's shot was blocked by a defender. Werder Bremen's captain Fritz won the header, and Lin Quan and Arnautovic immediately charged towards Bayern's half the moment possession changed hands. Fritz glanced at his two sprinting forwards and launched a long ball forward. The ball wasn't aimed at any player, but rather at the space in the opponent's backfield. Initially, Bayern's players didn't take the long ball seriously. It's difficult to break down Bayern with long balls and crosses because they have a goalkeeper with a wide range of movement. Neuer covers a lot of ground in front of the goal. Sometimes he even leaves the penalty area to act as a playmaker outside the box, participating in the overall attack, hence the nickname sweeper keeper among fans. Bayern Munich had a significant advantage in this match, so Neuer had already left the penalty area. Seeing the ball's trajectory, Neuer knew his teammate Boateng should be able to collect it, so he didn't rush back into the box, intending to support Boateng after he controlled the ball's trajectory. Boateng saw the ball flying towards him, judged its trajectory, and leaped high, intending to head it to his teammate behind him. However, just as he jumped, a tall figure rushed over, leaping off the ground almost simultaneously. The two were about the same height, but Boateng jumped from a stationary position, while the opponent took a running start. Thus, Boateng watched helplessly as the ball was headed away just centimeters from him. At that moment, another figure flashed past them. Simultaneously, realizing the situation was dire, Neuer also took long strides, heading straight for the ball. He and Lin Quan were about the same distance from the ball, while he was much farther from the goal than from the ball, so retreating was definitely out of the question. If he doesn't rush to contest the ball, the opponent can easily lob it over the goalkeeper, and he definitely won't be able to catch up. Lin Quan clearly knows this too. So, at this moment, it all comes down to who is faster. Chapter 39. Another goal. Bayern Munich is in a panic. While Messi isn't known for his speed, that doesn't mean he's slow. On the contrary, Messi is incredibly fast, especially before his major injury and decreased explosiveness. He was absolutely a speedster on the wing. However, his phenomenal dribbling and breakthrough abilities have led people to subconsciously overlook his speed. In this race between Lin Quan and Neuer, Lin Quan's speed advantage quickly became apparent. Neuer's long legs gave him a greater stride distance, but Lin Quan's incredibly fast stride frequency of 4 steps per second allowed him to run almost 1 more step per second. It's like Subinction and Bolt on the track. Subinction has a shorter stride and a faster stride frequency, while Bolt has a longer stride but a slightly slower stride frequency. This gives Subinction an advantage until 70 meters, after which Bolt can catch up and overtake using a stride length advantage. The football distance is less than 20 meters for both players. This distance clearly favors Lin Quan, whose stride frequency is faster. In the stands, the more than 50,000 Bayern Munich fans were like ducks with their necks pinched, craning their necks and opening their mouths, yet unable to utter a sound. They were silently chanting, "Neuer, run faster, faster." But unfortunately, no matter how much they shouted, they couldn't change the outcome of the match. With a faster stride, Lin Quan touched the ball first. Neuer was a step slower. Seeing Lin Quan had received the ball, he immediately launched a fierce sliding tackle, intending to end the opponent's attack with a foul. Because it was outside the penalty area, he couldn't touch the ball directly with his hands. And one-on-one against Lin Quan, he wasn't confident he could stop him. Therefore, a sliding tackle was the most suitable option at that moment. Lin Quan knew that the opponent wouldn't let him pass easily, so when he touched the ball, he gently flicked it with his toe, and the ball flew over Neuer's head. Lin Quan himself then lightly leaped, jumping over Neuer's sliding leg. He dodged the opponent's tackle. When Lin Quan received the ball again, there was an open goal in front of him. The intense sprint and his battle with Neuer had taken a toll on his energy. He was still over 30 meters from the goal, and worried that a direct shot would miss given his fatigue. So, he abandoned his long-range attempt and charged straight at Bayern's goal. This action enraged the Bayern fans, who felt it was a deliberate humiliation. They booed Lin Quan without hesitation. Undeterred by the boos, Lin Quan believed it was only natural for an attacking player to be booed by opposing fans. He effortlessly dribbled the ball into Bayern's half of the penalty area, stood on the goal line, and gently pushed the ball into the net with the instep of his foot. Just as he scored, Lum, who was tracking back, entered the 6-yard box. So, Lin Quan raised an eyebrow at the other man. "What did you just say? Can you repeat it?" Lum, seeing the other man's arrogant demeanor, was furious and raised his fist, ready to fight. Werder Bremen players immediately rushed forward, protecting Lin Quan behind them, and Captain Fritz even started shoving and pushing with a Bayern player. "Want to fight? Come on. Who's afraid of who?" Seeing that a full-blown brawl was about to break out, the referee immediately stepped in. He decisively pulled out his yellow cards and issued one to each of the Werder Bremen captain and 2 Bayern players. 3 yellow cards were issued in a short time, immediately intimidating the other players, especially those already carrying yellow cards. They dared not receive another one. Lum also calmed down. He wasn't usually an impulsive player, but today he was truly enraged by Lin Quan, and had momentarily lost his composure. This yellow card made him realize that he had acted rashly. For a defender, a yellow card severely restricts their defensive actions, making them hesitant to commit fouls. This weakens their defensive capabilities, allowing opponents to exploit this weakness. Therefore, unless tactically necessary, defenders should avoid receiving cards easily. He forgot this in a moment of impulsiveness, which was truly inexcusable. Inside the VIP box, Hoeneß and Rummenigge looked rather grim. In their view, Lin Quan's actions were definitely a provocation against Bayern Munich. However, in front of Guardiola, they couldn't retaliate and had to keep their anger to themselves. Guardiola, seeing their constipated expressions, couldn't help but chuckle to himself. Goal. In the 46th minute, Werder Bremen's number 10, Lin Quan, scored his second goal, changing the score again. This young Chinese-born player made his debut and scored twice against Bayern Munich. Lin Quan's performance in this match was truly impressive. Yes, seeing him reminds me of Messi in the 2005 World Youth Championship. If he can maintain this form, his future is limitless. After seeing Lin Quan's second goal, He Wei and Su Yang completely dispelled their doubts about him and were optimistic about his future. With half the second half played, the score is now 2-1, a very unfavorable score for Bayern. It's almost certain that after this goal, Werder Bremen will implement a more resolute defensive strategy. For Bayern Munich, breaking through their defense will undoubtedly become much more difficult. Moreover, if they continue their pressing attack, the gaps in their own half will be easily exploited by the opponent, leading to this goal. Su Yang added, but Bayern has no choice. They not only have to continue attacking, but they also have to find a way to break through the opponent's defense twice within the next 14 minutes. Otherwise, even if they equalize, they'll have to go to penalties. Indeed, the Telecom Cup doesn't have extra time, a rule that is quite disadvantageous for Bayern. Even the commentators understand this, so Bayern's coach certainly couldn't be unaware. He immediately made tactical adjustments, instructing his players to attack from the flanks and utilize individual player abilities to break the deadlock. After Ribéry came on, Bayern's attack was no longer limited to the right, they could also open up the game from the left. Moreover, compared to Arjen Robben, Ribéry prefers to pass the ball to his teammates. His crosses after several breakthroughs to the byline posed a significant threat to Werder Bremen's goal. However, the team's center-forward, Gomez, was in poor form today. Aside from one shot on the first half, his other attempts were wildly inaccurate, failing to meet his usual standard. In the 48th minute, Gomez was injured and fell to the ground during a header challenge with defender Socrates Papastathopoulos. After checking the player's injury, the referee signaled for a stretcher to be brought on the sidelines. Gomez also gestured to the coaching staff for a substitution, clearly unable to continue. Adding insult to injury, the team was behind, and their key striker was injured. This caused concern among the spectators. Was Bayern going to lose their first match of the new season? Chapter 40 Super Bowl Sens, Hank shock. Gomez's unexpected injury forced Hanks to bring on another substitute striker, Mandzukic. Mandzukic was a new signing Bayern Munich brought in from Wolfsburg this summer for €13 million. Compared to Gomez, who possesses excellent shooting skills, a keen eye for goal, and is extremely adept at seizing opportunities, Mandzukic is significantly lacking in all aspects. However, Mandzukic is a player with a strong mental fortitude. He fights fiercely on the field and never gives up easily, even in adversity. After coming on, his aggressive pressing and tireless running in the attacking third put immense pressure on Werder Bremen players with a ball. Inspired by him, Bayern's attacking players further intensified the pressing. This made it even harder for Werder Bremen players to hold on to the ball, and their mistakes increased. In the 51st minute, Robben broke through and shot, but the ball flew over the crossbar and into the stands. 2 minutes later, Ribéry crossed from the left flank, and Mandzukic headed the ball wide under pressure from a defender. Seeing his team under attack, Werder Bremen's goalkeeper, Militz, tried to buy time with a goal kick, giving his teammates a breather. He put the ball down and picked it up again, seemingly dissatisfied with the grass where he placed it, even stomping on it a few times. This angered the Bayern players, who protested to the referee, believing he was deliberately wasting time. The referee, seeing through his intentions, immediately issued him a yellow card. After receiving the yellow, Millets didn't dare delay any longer, launching a long ball forward. Since the defense couldn't hold the ball, he wanted to push it forward, the farther the better. Werder Bremen only had Arnautovic up front, but he won the header against the opposing defender and headed the ball back to Lin Quan. Lin Quan was immediately pressured by Cruz. Bayern Munich had clearly learned from their previous mistake and knew they couldn't let Lin Quan get ahead of his pace. Facing Cruz's pressure, Lin Quan remained calm, controlled the ball, turned, and deftly dribbled past him. However, Lam surged in from the flank, while Boateng Gustavo blocked his path forward. In the blink of an eye, Lin Quan was surrounded by 4 opponents. Unable to continue dribbling forward, he immediately changed his route, moving laterally and taking the ball to the left side of the field. Several Bayern players hesitated when they saw him move to the wing. Except for Lam, who chose to continue marking him, wanting to coordinate with Cruz, who was tracking back to defend him. The 2 defenders, Boateng and Gustavo, dared not continue. As defenders, they couldn't afford to lose their positions, as that would allow the opposing players to easily break through their defense. Lam was fast, he caught up with Lin Quan and tackled him without hesitation. Although Lam's attempt to steal the ball failed, he bumped into Lin Quan during the process, causing Lin Quan to stumble. However, Lin Quan persevered and didn't fall, carrying the ball to the sideline. When Lam tried to steal it again, Lin Quan kicked the ball against Lam's foot, sending it rolling out of bounds. The linesman raised his flag, indicating Werder Bremen had possession. Lin Quan didn't throw the ball in himself, but instead signaled to his teammates to come and take it. De Bruyne understood and leisurely jogged over. Though called a jog, it was slower than a walk. Bayern's players protested to the referee, but he ignored them. De Bruyne reached the sideline, picked up the ball, and looked at the players up front. Finding no particularly good passing options, he threw the ball back to his own half. Bayern's players immediately rushed towards the Werder Bremen player with the ball, who then passed it back to his defender. As Bayern's attacking players surged forward, the defender passed the ball back to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, holding the ball, waited until the defender was almost upon him before launching a long kick into the attacking third. The Bayern players, who had been sprinting all the way, were furious. They felt like they'd been toyed with, like being walked like dogs. Their stamina had already dropped in the second half, and the sprint made them even more breathless. After the goal kick, goalkeeper Millets glanced at the Bayern players. "You guys like to fight for the ball, right? Go for it. But it's a bit far, you'll have to run a bit more." Arnautovic had few opportunities in the attacking third. Werder Bremen had too little possession, and he was isolated and unable to get the ball. Aside from a few headers, he hadn't had much possession, so he hadn't even broken a sweat, keeping his stamina high. Seeing the ball flying towards him, Arnautovic leaped high and won the header again. Lin Quan, seeing his teammate get the first touch, alertly ran to the left. He knew Arnautovic had a habit of passing the ball to the left. Sure enough, just as Lin Quan started his run, the ball was in front of him. Cruz, who was marking him, couldn't keep up with Lin Quan's movement the instant he started, causing him to be a step too slow. By the time he tried to catch up, he was already at least 2 meters behind. 2 meters isn't far. Against a normal player, a timely catch-up is possible because a player's speed is slower when dribbling compared to when they're off the ball. Cruz desperately chased after him, while Lam had already positioned himself. This time, he wouldn't let him get past him easily. As Cruz chased, he realized something was wrong. The distance between them didn't seem to be closing much. The guy's speed with the ball was almost the same as when he was off the ball, barely decreasing. How could this be? Cruz was deeply shocked. He knew he couldn't do that. Not only himself, but no one around him, not even anyone he knew, could do it. Except for that guy, Barcelona's number 10. To do that requires exceptional ball control. And Messi just happens to possess historically superb ball control. Could it be that this guy's ball control is approaching Messi's? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Lin Quan has acquired Messi's attributes, naturally acquiring Messi's superb ball control. So he can easily complete this kind of dribbling that seems incredible to others. In fact, if you look closely, you'll find that every touch of Lin Quan is extremely reasonable, with even force, and the ball never leaves his body for more than a meter, even at high speed. This alone is enough to prove his strength, something that anyone with football experience can see at a glance. Swish. Bayern's 68-year-old coach Heinz couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up, his hands clenching involuntarily. At this moment, he realized that he had underestimated this young player opposite him. This young man was even more outstanding than he had imagined, even stronger than Messi when he burst onto the scene. Cruz failed, he couldn't catch up with Lin Quan. And the latter, at this moment, was once again facing Bayern's left-back one-on-one, Philippe Lahm. Chapter 41, a resounding victory over Bayern Munich, advancing to the final. Compared to their first encounter, Lahm was much more cautious this time. His opponent had proven his strength throughout the entire match, and to underestimate him now would be utterly foolish. The last encounter had taught Lahm that this guy was equally adept with both feet, possessing no weak foot. He could break through from either side. Therefore, he couldn't be fooled by feints or make rash tackles, as that would only result in him being easily beaten. The best way to deal with such a player was to call for teammates to come and help defend. However, Lahm currently had no teammates nearby. His teammates were behind him, about 10 meters behind the penalty area line. This distance was enough for the opponent to get past him. The only way to avoid being beaten was to retreat. As long as he kept up with the opponent's speed, maintained a suitable distance, and closed the gap with his teammates, he could use his numerical advantage to double-team him once they reached the penalty area. Taking the ball from his feet would then become much easier. Lahm kept retreating, trying to maintain a suitable distance to avoid being beaten. Lin Quan, however, wouldn't let him have his way. Seeing his opponent retreat, he immediately increased his speed. No matter how fast Lahm was, he couldn't keep up with Lin Quan while retreating. So Lin Quan's acceleration immediately closed the distance between them. At this rate, a few more steps and he would be able to shake off Lahm. Lahm had no choice but to spread his arms and desperately pull Lin Quan to prevent him from overtaking him. Bayern's defender Gustavo saw that Lahm seemed to have blocked Lin Quan, so he risked pressing forward to try and steal the ball. Lahm was shorter and lighter than Lin Quan, and although he had more experience in physical confrontations, his overall physical attributes were different. So he quickly fell behind in the physical confrontation. Lin Quan pushed his arm away and, before Gustavo's foot could touch the ball, kicked it towards the center. There, a young player wearing a green number 6 jersey rushed up from behind and received Lin Quan's pass. Kevin De Bruyne. Because Lin Quan had taken Cruz away, De Bruyne was unmarked. And the moment he passed the ball in his own half, he sprinted forward with all his might. His efforts finally paid off. Just outside the penalty area, he received Lin Quan's pass. Stop him. Bayern's defender's heart skipped a beat. Badstuber immediately rushed to intercept, leaving Boateng to continue marking Arnautovic. His interception failed. De Bruyne didn't hold on to the ball, decisively passing it diagonally to the outer corner of the 6-yard box. There were neither defenders nor attackers there. Had De Bruyne made a mistake? No. Just then, a player in a green jersey slipped past the defenders like an eel, receiving De Bruyne's pass in open space. The instant he received the ball, Lin Quan and Neuer locked eyes. There was no obstruction between them, a one-on-one. Lin Quan smiled at Neuer and immediately shot. Neuer saw the direction of the shot and immediately made a diving save. But the ball beat him to it, flying into the goal. The score was now 3-1, with Werder Bremen leading Bayern Munich by 2 goals away from home. Lin Quan completed his first hat-trick. With less than 5 minutes left in regular time, this goal practically sealed the victory. It was virtually impossible for Bayern to equalize within 5 minutes. A deathly silence fell over the stadium once more, Bayern fans staring in disbelief at the Werder Bremen players celebrating wildly on the field. They seemed unable to accept the score. They had actually lost at home to Minot. This was something they could never have imagined before the match, yet it had happened. Not only were they surprised, but the Bayern Munich players themselves hadn't expected this result either. They seemed stunned. In the final 5 minutes, some wanted to continue attacking to salvage the situation, while others feared that pressing too far forward would lead to further goals and a disastrous defeat. Losing wasn't terrible, but losing at home in such a humiliating manner was a much greater blow to their pride and reputation. The lack of cohesion among the players rendered Bayern's attack ineffective. Meanwhile, emboldened by Lin Quan's goal, Werder Bremen's morale soared. They reversed their previous dominance, launching a relentless attack on Bayern's half. Had Bayern's defenders not fought so hard to hold their line, they might have conceded another goal in the final 5 minutes. Seeing Bayern's lack of fighting spirit, The referee didn't even add a minute of stoppage time, blowing the final whistle as soon as the 60 minutes were up. Lin Quan had long heard that the Bundesliga had the least stoppage time among Europe's top 5 leagues, and even the world. Their referees disliked working overtime, so when the outcome of a match was no longer in doubt, they often didn't add stoppage time. Bundesliga players seemed accustomed to this, and generally didn't protest. As soon as the whistle blew, Werder Bremen's players, including the young substitutes and coaches, rushed onto the field to celebrate wildly with the 11 players on the pitch. They actually beat Bayern Munich. It was almost unbelievable. This victory meant Werder Bremen had reached the final, and their opponent would be either Borussia Dortmund or Hamburg. "Coach, we didn't disappoint you, did we?" the players asked Schaff with grins. "Of course not, you're my pride, I'm so proud of you." "Okay, after the celebration, let's go thank the fans who came to support us." He then led the players to the East Stand to thank the 2,000 Werder Bremen fans who had come to watch the game. After thanking them, the players returned to the locker room chatting and laughing. The Bruin, however, specifically found the match ball, wiped it clean with his jersey, and stuffed it into Lin Quan's arms. "What's this?" Lin Quan was a little confused, not knowing what this guy was up to. Generally speaking, after scoring 3 goals in a match, the player who completes a hat-trick has the right to take the match ball as a souvenir. This match should be your first hat-trick in an official game, so you can take this ball as a keepsake. "That's thoughtful, thanks." Lin Quan certainly wouldn't waste the other party's kindness. After taking the ball, he borrowed a pen, wrote the date and time and the opponent on it, and then signed his name. Then he handed the ball to De Bruyne. "Huh?" De Bruyne didn't react, looking at Lin Quan with a puzzled expression. "This match is our first official match playing together, so this ball is for you as a souvenir. When you perform a hat-trick in the future, don't forget to give me a return gift." "Okay, I'll remember that." De Bruyne nodded seriously. Back in the locker room, after taking a shower, Lin Quan received a call from Guardiola. "Hey, Pep. Did you watch my match?" Receiving Guardiola's call at this time, Lin Quan immediately guessed that the other party had watched the live broadcast of the match. Unbeknownst to him, Guardiola wasn't watching the live broadcast, he was actually at the match venue. "Yes, I watched the game. It was a good game, and I'm proud of you. But I have a question, when did you move to the winger position?" Guardiola sensed something was amiss when he saw Werder Bremen's starting lineup. "Well, I guess our coach has a keen eye and thinks I play better on the wing, so he arranged it that way." Lin Quan couldn't tell Guardiola that he had acquired Messi's attributes, so he could only pin the credit on Coach Schaff. "I see. I've long heard that Coach Thomas Schaff is a legendary coach, but I didn't expect him to be so bold and insightful in using young players. I still have a lot to learn from him in this regard." Guardiola on the other end of the phone, unaware of the truth, instantly developed a strong interest in Werder Bremen's head coach after hearing Lin Quan's explanation. "How about this, after your match against Dortmund tomorrow, I'll personally come over to visit you and also discuss team tactics with your head coach. Please vote." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. Exhausted from constant travel. Although the Telecom Cup only has 2 matches, they are scheduled very close together. According to the schedule, after advancing to the next round, they will travel to Dortmund tomorrow, August 6th, to face another opponent. In their match against Hamburg, Dortmund narrowly defeated Hamburg 1-0 thanks to a goal from Lewandowski, advancing to the final and becoming Werder Bremen's opponent. Due to the tight schedule, after defeating Bayern Munich, Werder Bremen had to immediately fly to Dortmund, the location of their next opponent. By the time they landed and arrived at their pre-booked hotel by bus, it was already 2:30 a.m. At this point, only 17 hours remained before the match. "Quickly, everyone back to your rooms to sleep. We'll meet for training at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow." The coaches urged the players to go to their rooms, leaving them little time to rest. If they didn't sleep well tonight, they probably wouldn't even have the energy to run on the field tomorrow. What kind of crazy schedule is this? It's so close together, there's no time to rest. Coach Rolf complained after settling the players in. "The Telecom Cup is always like this, but it's really unfair to us. The home team, Borussia Dortmund, has the advantage of playing at home and being well rested, while Werder Bremen has to travel across most of Germany, which will cause them a huge challenge, whereas their opponents don't have this problem. However, as supporting players invited to accompany the Prince, just being able to participate in the match is already a good thing. Don't expect too much? Alright, everyone go and rest, keep in good shape, we have another match tomorrow. Schaff clapped his hands, seeing everyone off. He then turned on his computer to check the Hamburg vs Dortmund match from earlier that day. As the team's head coach, it would be somewhat incompetent not to conduct targeted research on the next opponent before the match. Dortmund's squad has undergone some changes this season. They've brought in a number of players and also lost some. Borussia Dortmund's biggest signing of this summer was Marco Reus, a promising young star, acquired from Borussia Mönchengladbach for €17.1 million to replace Japanese midfielder Shinji Kagawa, who was bought by Manchester United. They also spent €5.5 million to bring in striker Marcelo Scheiber from Stuttgart. Scheiber was bought by Klopp as a backup, as their backup striker, Barrios, was bought by Chinese Super League club Guangzhou Evergrande for €8.5 million. While Barrios had performed well for Dortmund, he received little playing time after Robert Lewandowski established himself as a regular starter. If Barrios had been willing to be a substitute, things would have been fine. However, he was unwilling to be a substitute and had a difficult temperament. With his potential largely exhausted, his continued presence at the club posed a significant risk to the dressing room. Therefore, faced with a poaching offer from the wealthy Chinese club, Klopp did not hesitate to sell him to raise funds. Overall, Borussia Dortmund's squad strength wasn't significantly weakened this summer. Although they lost key midfielder Shinji Kagawa, the young Marco Reus has greater potential. If he integrates well with the team, he might even surpass Kagawa's contribution in the future. Unlike Bayern Munich, Dortmund is a passionate and energetic young team. Their playing style is exuberant and impactful, creating a youthful storm in the Bundesliga. Last season, it was precisely this youthful storm that led them to defeat Bundesliga giants Bayern Munich 3 times, winning both the league and cup titles, leaving Bayern helpless. Against an opponent who relies on pressing and tireless running, Werder Bremen can no longer use the same tactics they used against Bayern. Allowing Dortmund's young team to besiege their goal is extremely dangerous, because once they get going, even top clubs can't stop them. So, what tactics should they use to counter them? Schaff rubbed his temples, deep in thought. Perhaps because of the victory against the powerful Bayern Munich, many of the team's young players were extremely excited. Although they had gone to bed early as instructed by the coach, they couldn't fall asleep for a long time. By the time they finally drifted off, they had no idea what time it was. The next morning at 10:30, it was time for the team to assemble for training. However, less than half of the players were present on time, and most of them were veterans. The young players were almost entirely absent. I'll go and call them down. Seeing the head coach's displeasure, assistant coach Hnebac volunteered. Why don't we let them sleep a little longer and train first? The fitness coach objected, believing that waking the young players at this time would lead to insufficient rest and greatly affect the evening's match. However, Coach Schaff nodded to Hnebac and let him go and call them. I'd rather lose this match than let these young men forget one thing. In my team, I don't welcome those who don't follow the rules. He had already postponed the team's assembly time, giving them ample rest. It was these players who couldn't adjust their mindset, leading to them oversleeping. Of course, he bears some responsibility. He failed to address the players' mental state beforehand, soothe the young players' emotions, and impart his experience to them. However, now he cannot sit idly by and let the players violate the rules without taking action. This would diminish his authority as head coach and might even give the young players the wrong impression that breaking team rules is no big deal and that they won't be punished anyway. If they develop this feeling, it will not only affect the team's future tactical arrangements but could even impact these young players' careers. No team likes players who are undisciplined and don't follow team rules. Lin Quan and De Bruyne exchanged a glance, gaining a deeper understanding of their coach. Coach Schaff wouldn't give you a hard time when he needed to be reasonable, but when it came to work, he also had his own iron-fisted and ruthless side, with extremely strong principles. Indeed, someone who can stay in the head coach position for so long is definitely not simple. Because the players were not all present, the morning training was simple. Lin Quan had been practicing free kicks with De Bruyne recently, one practicing powerful shots and the other practicing outside of the foot curls. De Bruyne's free kick skills are already very high, but he lacks a bit of variation in front of goal. Therefore, against some experienced goalkeepers, his free kicks are easily saved. So, he plans to add some variation to his free kicks, similar to the knuckleball style often used by Cristiano Ronaldo. The goal is to make the ball suddenly drop halfway through its flight, catching the opponent off guard. Mastering this is no easy feat. Besides having ample power, one needs to control the angle of force and the part of the ball that makes contact with it. After the knuckleball is launched, the ball should be kept as spin-free as possible, so that the air resistance is much greater than that of a spinning ball. When a player kicks the ball with great force, it gains a very high initial velocity. When the initial velocity is greater than the final velocity, the Magnus effect becomes very pronounced. At the highest point of its flight, the ball doesn't descend in a normal parabolic trajectory, but rather drops suddenly like riding an elevator. That's the principle behind the knuckleball. This principle was later derived by professional kinesiology and mechanics experts hired by the Milan Sports Daily, who made precise calculations. According to the experts' calculation formula, in order to achieve the effect of a knuckleball, the initial speed of the football must exceed 100 km per hour, which requires a great deal of strength from the penalty taker. Chapter 43 The Scout from Chelsea. The team's starting goalkeeper, Sebastian Militz, was practicing penalty kick tactics with his teammates. Telecom Cup matches often go to penalty shootouts, so they needed to practice penalty kicks and defending them beforehand to avoid being rushed into action. Facing an open goal, he felt something was missing, so Lin Quan went to get the team's backup goalkeeper, Wolf, to help guard a goal. Although Wolf was the second-choice goalkeeper, his ability as a substitute for a Bundesliga team was certainly not weak. Facing De Bruyne and Lin Quan's penalties, he made high saves and low blocks, almost completely blocking both shots. Kevin, your ball speed isn't fast enough, the trajectory is too easy to predict. If the goalkeeper is focused, it's difficult to pose a threat to the goal. Wolf noticed De Bruyne wanted to practice his knuckleball and reminded him, you need to add some variety to the ball. De Bruyne put his hands on his hips, staring at the ball on the ground, thinking. Add some variety to the ball? How? The knuckleball requires controlled spin and high speed, it's difficult to execute even in its simplest form. Adding further variation felt like a stretch. Let me try? Lin Quan had practiced with the outside of his foot for a while, but it never quite captured Quaresma's essence. He became interested in De Bruyne's knuckleball technique. He wondered if Messi had such a move in his arsenal. Messi always seemed to prefer curved free kicks, and he'd never seen a knuckleball before. De Bruyne nodded and gave him space. Lin Quan stood at the penalty spot, took a deep breath, and pondered the movements of several knuckleball masters. Ronaldo, Pirlo, Juninho. He took a few steps back, quickly ran up, aimed carefully, and unleashed a powerful shot. Wolf stood motionless in front of the goal, and of course, the ball wasn't inside. So, where did the ball go? At that moment, a young man on the sidelines, nearly knocked unconscious by the ball, was utterly exasperated. Sorry, are you alright? Lin Quan quickly ran to the sidelines and apologized to the other player. He hadn't controlled the angle well, sending the ball flying over 50 meters before landing. The other player, rubbing his dizzy head, looked up at the culprit, seemingly trying to remember which bastard had kicked him. Seeing Lin Quan's green jersey and the number 10 printed on it, the other player seemed to remember something. You're that winger from Werder Bremen? Lin Quan was a little surprised. He'd only played one official match, and already a stranger recognized him? Wait a minute, could this guy be a spy sent by Dortmund to gather intelligence? Only rivals would pay close attention to each other's players, Lin Quan thought. Let me introduce myself. My name is George Evans, and I'm a scout from Chelsea. I watched your game footage yesterday, you played brilliantly. Thank you. A Chelsea scout, are you here to observe Kevin's performance? Lin Quan suddenly realized who it was when the scout introduced himself. His teammate De Bruyne was a Chelsea player. Chelsea spent £8 million to bring him in, so they would definitely be interested in his loan spells. Sending a scout to observe him was normal, but this scout was far too young, looking only in his early 20s. At that age, he was clearly a newcomer to scouting, with little influence at the club. Chelsea sending someone like this to observe De Bruyne indicated they didn't value him highly. Sort of. But the team's forwards have all been underperforming, so I've also been tasked with scouting forwards from other teams. So who are you scouting right now? Lin Quan asked casually. Chelsea's lack of attacking firepower was no secret in the football world. When they spent a hefty £50 million to acquire Liverpool star striker Fernando Torres, they envisioned the Holy Child wreaking havoc at Stamford Bridge, scoring goals in droves. Little did they expect that their £50 million would turn out to be a major flop. Due to injuries and tactical incompatibility, Torres has struggled immensely at Chelsea. 2 seasons later, in 60 appearances for the team, he has only scored 10 goals, an appallingly low scoring rate. Although Chelsea won the Champions League last season, their victory was based on defense, not offense. If they don't address their attacking problems, their performance this season will undoubtedly plummet. So, this summer, Chelsea has been spending lavishly, searching the world for a striker. They first spent €35 million to acquire Eden Hazard from Lille, then €8 million to buy Marco Marin from Werder Bremen. Next, they spent €32 million to acquire Oscar, the attacking midfielder from Internacional. This summer, Chelsea has already burned through over €100 million, and it seems they have no intention of stopping. The wealthy Abramovich stated he wasn't short of money and wanted to find a big name for Chelsea, preferably one of the world's top strikers. This led to rumors that Chelsea had made an offer to Barcelona for Messi. Of course, this was mostly speculation. After all, Manchester City was willing to pay £250 million for Messi last year, and Barcelona wouldn't let him go. Given the animosity between Chelsea and Barcelona, it was even less likely that Barcelona would release him. George glanced at Lin Quan. Why are you asking about this? The team's transfer plans couldn't be discussed casually. Leaking such information could easily cause other teams to scramble for players or drive up prices. I'm just afraid you'll try to poach our strikers again. Lin Quan replied casually, seeing that the other party didn't want to elaborate. No, that won't happen. Your team has too few stars. We've already bought Marco Marin. Who else is worth Chelsea poaching? That was the truth, although it sounded unpleasant. Werder Bremen's players didn't have much potential or future achievements. They didn't even have a single star player, just a bunch of cheap and effective workhorses. Therefore, the only players he could be scouting are those from Borussia Dortmund. Considering Dortmund's performance last season and the impact of Manchester United's acquisition of Shinji Kagawa from Dortmund, it's normal for Chelsea to poach players from Dortmund. The only question is, who are they eyeing? Is it the future top striker Lewandowski, or Dortmund's midfield maestro Guts? Considering Chelsea's attacking and midfield depth, they're more likely to want Lewandowski. None of this matters to him. Chelsea is unlikely to pay for him, and even if they did, he wouldn't want to play for Chelsea. The intense physicality of the Premier League is too harsh on young players. Until he develops injury-resistant talent, it's better to stay in the Bundesliga, a place suitable for young talents to hone their skills. Holding the ball, Lin Quan returned to the pitch to continue discussing the knuckleball technique with De Bruyne. Lin Quan has extensive theoretical knowledge but lacks strength. De Bruyne, on the other hand, has sufficient strength but is deficient in theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge is easy to learn, but improving strength is not so easy. So Lin Quan shared his understanding of the knuckleball technique with De Bruyne and guided him in practicing it. If De Bruyne could master this skill, the team would have another option for free kicks. The morning training session only lasted an hour and a half. After lunch, the team began tactical drills. At 5:30 p.m., the players boarded a bus to Dortmund's home stadium, Westfalenstadion, to familiarize themselves with the pitch and warm up for the match. Meanwhile, the Dortmund players also departed by bus, and the two teams unexpectedly met at the stadium entrance. The Telecom Cup final was about to begin. Chapter 44 Dortmund's devilish home ground. Is this Dortmund's home stadium? It's truly terrifying. Dortmund's home fans are incredibly passionate, making it one of the most intimidating home stadiums in European football. The stadium can hold 80,000 spectators, and Dortmund's home ground is almost always packed. Especially the South Stand, where over 30,000 fans are always seated. They wear Dortmund's black-trimmed yellow jerseys, wave various flags, and sing Dortmund's team anthem at the top of their lungs, their voices soaring and echoing endlessly. This home atmosphere is far more intimidating than Bayern Munich's Allianz Arena. Don't let off-field factors affect you. Dortmund's home stadium has always been like this. If you focus too much on this, you'll fall into their trap. Captain Fritz, seeing the young players overwhelmed by Dortmund's home atmosphere, quickly spoke up to remind them. It's often said that the home fans are the team's 12th man. This saying isn't without merit. When playing at home, tens of thousands of fans can provide cheers and applause, encouraging and inspiring the team, igniting their fighting spirit and boosting their morale. For away team players, however, the moment they get the ball, they are met with boos from the home crowd. The deafening boos can be irritating, clouding their judgment. Those with weaker mental fortitude might even lose possession and make mistakes. Furthermore, the fans' cheers can put pressure on the referees, influencing their decisions in favor of the home team. These factors combined constitute the home advantage in football. This advantage is quite significant, which is why leagues around the world often feature teams with formidable home records. Matches against such teams are extremely difficult. Unfortunately, Borussia Dortmund is precisely such a team. Last season, they lost only one of their 17 Bundesliga home games, ranking first among all 18 Bundesliga teams and significantly ahead of second place. Beating them at their home ground will be even more difficult than conquering Bayern Munich's home ground. The historical head-to-head statistics also favor Werder Bremen. In the last 10 matches over the past 2 years, Dortmund holds a dominant record of 7 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. Poor physical condition, the opponent's formidable home advantage, and a superior historical record, all these indicate that this match will be extremely difficult for Werder Bremen. Schaff is well aware of this, so he devised a very bold plan: attack aggressively for the first 5 minutes, try to break through their defense, and then immediately retreat and hold on until the end of the match. Dortmund's players are young, energetic, and dynamic, which is good. However, young players have a weakness: an unstable mentality. When they are winning, they have no psychological burden and often deliver superhuman performances. But once they fall behind, especially when they are struggling to break through, they become increasingly impatient, their performance deteriorates, and they ultimately lose the game. The last time Werder Bremen defeated Borussia Dortmund, it was thanks to Silvestra's quick goal just 5 minutes into the game that they disrupted Dortmund's mentality, making them increasingly anxious and ultimately causing them to falter, allowing Werder Bremen to narrowly win the match. Therefore, for Werder Bremen to win, they must exploit this weakness in their opponent and attack relentlessly. If their tactics work, they still have the chance to win. If their tactics fail, it's not a big deal, since their chances of winning were already slim. Therefore, when Coach Schaff announced his plan, the players all agreed, everyone was willing to take the gamble. CCTV, viewers, this is CCTV bringing you the 2012 Deutsche Telekom Cup final, between Borussia Dortmund and Werder Bremen. This is commentator Wei. This is commentator Su Yang. The match is about to begin. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. Borussia Dortmund's starting lineup is 20 Longerock, 21 Kolsi, 15 Hummels, 30 Gunter, 37 Holstenberg, 5 Kell, 7 Leitner, 19 Grosskreutz, 11 Reus, 32 Bittencourt, 9 Lewandowski. Werder Bremen's formation remains 4-3-3. The starting lineup is 1 Militz, 23 Selassie, 5 Lukimja, 15 Prudl, 17 Igniawoski, 8 Fritz, 6 De Bruyne, 7 Arnautovic, 10 Lin Quan, 41 Verkluge, and 11 Ilya. Because Wei and Su Yang's commentary on the previous Telecom Cup semi-final achieved good ratings in China, they continued to serve as commentators for CCTV in this match. Before the start of the top 5 European leagues, such a match is naturally an unmissable choice for football fans. Therefore, after the live broadcast began, CCTV Sports Channel's ratings soared rapidly. A large part of this was due to the young Chinese-born player in Werder Bremen. Lin Quan scored a hat-trick in yesterday's match against Bayern Munich, breaking 3 Telecom Cup records: youngest starter, youngest goal scorer, and youngest hat-trick scorer. While the Telecom Cup isn't considered a particularly prestigious competition, breaking 3 records at his age has given him a small boost in the football world. Furthermore, Wei's comparison of Lin Quan to Messi during his commentary attracted both Messi fans and Messi critics. I want to see if this so-called Messi is really as good as the commentators claim. I've seen Lin Quan's last match, he's definitely the real Messi. Upstairs, I'm not well educated, don't try to fool me. Exactly, they're just bragging. Every year so many Messis pop up from every nook and cranny. When did Messi become so cheap and worthless? Based on my 20 years of watching football, Messi's ball control and talent are absolutely historic. Other players similar to Messi, without such top-notch ball control, are just all show and no substance. Tisk, another Messi fanboy. Your Messi is so strong, how come he got thrashed by Germany in the World Cup? You talk like your Ronaldo made it to the quarterfinals. Someone who fell in the round of 16 has the nerve to spout nonsense here. The original discussion was about whether Lin Quan was Messi II, but because of the appearance of Messi fans and Messi haters, the topic seriously deviated and turned into a debate between Ronaldo and Messi. These two are currently the strongest, most talked about, and most popular active players in football. During this period, they were known as the Twin Stars. They each have a massive fan base, and these fans often dislike each other, leading to frequent arguments between their respective fan groups. Amidst the arguments, time passed slowly. At 7:35 p.m., with a referee's whistle, the highly anticipated Telecom Cup final, between Borussia Dortmund and Werder Bremen, officially kicked off. Chapter 45, using speed to overwhelm Dortmund. After the match began, Dortmund, as usual, planned to use high pressing and relentless running to counter Werder Bremen. However, to their surprise, Werder Bremen showed no fear and actually engaged in an all-out attacking game. The pace of the game was incredibly fast. The ball rarely remained at either side's feet for more than 10 seconds before being dispossessed. This unusual situation made Klopp uneasy. He looked towards the Werder Bremen bench, where he saw their coach, Thomas Schaaf, sitting calmly, seemingly unaffected by the game's unfolding events. It seemed this was part of their tactical plan. Want to play an all-out attack? The Werder Bremen players probably don't know the meaning of death. Teams that dare to go toe-to-toe with Dortmund will definitely suffer a terrible fate. Thinking this, Klopp gestured to his players, signaling them to further increase the pace of the game. The opponent wants an all-out attack? Fine, I'll grant your wish. Seeing Dortmund's players increase their pace, Schaaf showed no sign of tension or worry, but rather a smug smile. Klopp had definitely fallen for it. Increase the pace? That's the right thing to do. Today, Schaaf made some adjustments to the starting lineup, replacing Papastathopoulos in defense with Lukemia, and bringing on the young striker Füllkrug. These two share a common characteristic: tall stature, abundant stamina, and high intensity in pressing. Clearly, these two were brought on to improve the team's physical strength and pressing ability. Werder Bremen's players may not be technically strong, not as good as Bayern Munich. But is Dortmund any better? Dortmund's good record is due to their highly aggressive style of play. They run and charge around the field like they're on fire, relying on the stamina and energy of their young players to wear down other teams. In terms of pure technique, can Borussia Dortmund compare to Bayern Munich? However, Dortmund's ability to defeat Bayern 3 times last season is enough to demonstrate how ruthless Klopp's tactical approach for Dortmund is. If the match were to go on for the full 90 minutes, even if Werder Bremen fielded a young squad, they certainly wouldn't be able to outrun Dortmund. But they only need to focus on the first 5 minutes, and in those 5 minutes, Werder Bremen's players can absolutely keep up with Dortmund's pace. Therefore, the situation on the field didn't change even after Dortmund increased their speed. Dortmund still couldn't hold on to the ball, and neither could Werder Bremen. Both sides frequently committed fouls in midfield, with players falling to the ground. Even Lin Quan was fouled twice within just 2 minutes. As the key player in Werder Bremen's victory over Bayern Munich in the previous match, Dortmund's players were clearly aware of his threat. Therefore, Dortmund marked him very closely and pressed him fiercely, using physical confrontations and even fouls to prevent him from receiving the ball comfortably. Lin Quan rubbed his slightly sore calves, inwardly complaining, "What kind of football match is this? It feels like a Spanish bullfight." In this fast-paced game, Dortmund, with their better teamwork and familiarity with the style of play, seemed to be gradually gaining the upper hand. In the 3rd minute, Bittencourt dribbled the ball to the edge of the penalty area. Just as he raised his foot to pass, Werder Bremen centre-back Lukemia made a tackle, using his physical advantage to push past him and steal the ball. After successfully intercepting the ball, Lukemia immediately passed it to Captain Fritz, and Dortmund's midfielders immediately swarmed Fritz. Fritz dared not hold the ball, and after receiving it, he immediately passed it to Elia on the wing before the opposing players could even lift their feet. Elia sprinted with the ball, charging towards Dortmund's half. Seeing the opponent launch a counter-attack, the Dortmund players, without any prompting, retreated swiftly and efficiently, their movements as synchronized as a machine. Truly outstanding tactical execution. On the long flank, Coach Schaff glanced at Klopp with some apprehension. This guy, he didn't know what methods he used to train this group of young players into an iron-willed army. After sprinting for several meters, Elia was stopped by Dortmund's full-back, Kalsi. At the same time, two Dortmund players surrounded him from his left and behind, attempting to press him. This was Dortmund's tactical approach, using more aggressive running to create numerical superiority in localized areas, constantly pressing the player with a ball. If you couldn't outrun them, your counterattacks wouldn't work. Once surrounded, unless you had Messi's dribbling and passing abilities, you would almost certainly lose possession. Elia, of course, lacked that ability, so he didn't dare hold on to the ball any longer and passed it directly to the on-rushing De Bruyne. Before De Bruyne could even receive the ball, an opposing player had already rushed in. Seeing the pressing player, he combined the receiving and passing motions, delivering the ball to striker Arnautovic before the opponent could block him. It was a beautiful play. Dortmund's players are indeed very fast. But no matter how fast they run, a person's speed can't match the speed of a football. Therefore, while they were pressing Elia and De Bruyne, the number of defenders around the other Werder Bremen players was naturally reduced. Great ball. No wonder he's a promising young star scouted by the Champions League winning team. De Bruyne's play was superb. In the CCTV commentary booth, seeing De Bruyne's clever long pass, which both defused the opponent's pressing and delivered the ball to his teammate in open space, He couldn't help but praise him. Su Yang added, "Let me explain to some viewers, De Bruyne is a midfielder Chelsea bought from Genk for £8 million during the winter break this January. He's only 21 years old, still very young, and has huge potential for growth. If he develops well, he might even succeed Lampard." He, however, said, "Lampard is a box-to-box midfielder, while De Bruyne looks like an attacking midfielder. Perhaps he could also play as a winger. In terms of defense and midfield coverage, he's not as good as Lampard, so there's probably no question of succession." Inside the penalty area, Arnautovic received the ball, shrugged off Dortmund defender Humes, and passed it back to his teammate. The 19-year-old youngster Füllkrug, like a high-speed charging tank, evaded the defenders outside the penalty area and, with a close-range sliding shot, put the ball into the Dortmund goal. The ball was too fast. The Dortmund goalkeeper had no time to react and could only watch as it went into the net. The score became 1-0, and only 4 minutes had passed since the final whistle. The massive Westfalen Stadion fell into deathly silence. As if under a spell. The Dortmund fans were stunned, unable to believe their eyes. Their team was already behind at home after just 4 minutes. P.S. The previous 2 chapters were transitional, and since everyone said it wasn't enough, I'll add an extra chapter. Also, to encourage more votes, here's an extra chapter rule: 1 extra chapter for every 1,000 votes. Chapter 46. Another goal scored. The real trump card is Lin Quan. The Dortmund players were stunned, staring blankly at their own goal, seemingly unable to accept the cruel reality of conceding a goal so quickly. Werder Bremen, on the other hand, reacted completely differently. After scoring, the players sprinted across the field, chasing after the goal scorer, Füllkrug, tackling him to the ground and jumping on him in a human pyramid. On the sidelines, Coach Schaff, seeing the goal, excitedly clenched his fists and rushed out to hug and celebrate with his coaching staff. On the other side, Klopp's face darkened as he watched his team concede so quickly. Damn it, that team's incredible luck. They scored on just 1 attack. Their luck was simply unbelievable. Of course, this didn't mean Dortmund's defense was entirely without fault. When Füllkrug broke free of his defender and made his shot, the Dortmund players failed to immediately get into position to defend, resulting in a defensive lapse that led to the goal. Could this young player from Werder Bremen's youth academy be Schaff's secret weapon for this match? Klopp was somewhat uncertain, his gaze shifting back and forth between Lin Quan and Füllkrug. He couldn't determine which player the opponent was focusing on today. Or were both their trump cards? Thinking this, he called Humes over and gave him a few instructions. After the match restarted, Füllkrug noticed that the opponent's defense against him had become much tighter. Although Dortmund hadn't assigned a specific player to mark him, there were always 1 or 2 Dortmund players nearby, maintaining a very close distance. In this situation, if a teammate passed the ball to him, the opponent would immediately press and dispossess him. Seeing this, Schaff smiled slightly and breathed a sigh of relief. The young Füllkrug wasn't Werder Bremen's real trump card. The real trump card was Lin Quan, the winger with extremely strong single-target burst damage. Verklug's main purpose on the field was to provide cover for his teammates, set up passes for him, and support him, while also diverting the attention of the defenders, preventing them from focusing all their energy on marking Lin Quan. Verklug's recent goal further reinforced this, leading Dortmund to mistakenly believe he was the biggest threat and forcing them to increase their defensive efforts against him. This played right into Schaff's hands. Now, it's time to see your performance. Schaff's gaze swept across the crowd, landing on the number 10 player on the right side of the team. The unexpected goal conceded in the 4th minute didn't immediately break Dortmund's fighting spirit. Although conceding a goal just 4 minutes into the game was psychologically difficult for them, leaving them with a sense of frustration at being caught off guard, this frustration transformed into anger, igniting an even stronger fighting spirit. They began to use more aggressive running and more fierce tackling to speed up the pace of the game, hoping to overwhelm their opponents, equalize, or even reverse the score. This is Westfalenstadion, the most terrifying home ground in the entire Bundesliga. We won't tolerate your arrogance here. However, Werder Bremen, riding high on their recent goal, weren't afraid of Dortmund's pressing. Thus, a fierce battle erupted again in midfield. In the 5th minute, Dortmund, through quick passing, reached Werder Bremen's penalty area. Lewandowski received the ball in the box, and with few good passing options, he opted to shoot himself. His shot lacked power and was easily saved by the goalkeeper. Milic knew their time for attack was running out. If they couldn't score now, Dortmund would be pinning them in their own half. So he leaped up and launched a long ball forward. Dortmund, having just completed an attack, had most of their players in the opponent's half and no time to retreat. Their backline was now wide open, practically wide enough for a horse to run across. It was Arnautovic again, the tall striker once more using his excellent heading ability to win the header and pass the ball to Verklug. Dortmund defenders were already pressing Verklug before he could even receive the ball. But surprisingly, Werder Bremen's number 41 didn't even try to receive the ball. Instead, he cleverly passed it to another teammate rushing up from behind, Lin Quan, wearing the number 10 jersey. Clark jumped to his feet, his face extremely serious. Wasn't that guy supposed to be on the right wing? When did he get to the center? Verklug, standing at 1.9 meters tall, positioned himself in front of the defenders after passing the ball, preventing Dortmund players from immediately interfering with or intercepting Lin Quan. This gave Lin Quan the space and time to accelerate. Countless matches have proven how dangerous it is when Messi gets going. And now, the Dortmund players were facing that very test. Lin Quan, now at full speed, used no fancy tricks whatsoever, simply employing changes in rhythm, dribbling, and changing direction to easily get past Dortmund's center-back, Kalsi. The opponent hesitated, reaching out to grab his jersey, fearing a penalty. In that split second of hesitation, Lin Quan had already taken a shot. Seeing Lin Quan dribble into the penalty area, Dortmund's goalkeeper, Langerak, immediately moved to the near post. However, the shot was aimed at the far post, a curved shot at that. Faced with such a shot, Langerak could only make a token save, unable to touch the ball. As he fell, he heard a thud, and a surge of joy filled him, thinking the shot had gone wide. But when he looked back, the ball had bounced into the net. In the 6th minute, Werder Bremen again capitalized on a quick counter-attack, breaching Dortmund's goal. The score became 2-0. This goal was almost identical to the first, both conceded through a quick counter-attack, catching Dortmund off guard. Before their defenders could even get into position, Werder Bremen had already launched their attack. In this situation, no matter how much Dortmund's players ran, it was useless. Their speed couldn't keep up with the ball. This left the Dortmund players somewhat bewildered, even starting to doubt the team's tactical setup. If they continued playing like this, they didn't know how many more goals they would concede. This was Westfalenstadion, their home ground. If they suffered a heavy defeat at home, or even a humiliating defeat, the players wouldn't know how to face their fans. So, after the game restarted, the Dortmund players became hesitant and timid, seemingly reluctant to continue attacking. On the sidelines, Schaff, seeing the Dortmund players' performance, felt much more at ease. He had been right. The young players had very prominent strengths, but their weaknesses were equally obvious. Their mentality was too easily affected. So now, Coach Klopp, do you have a way to resolve this crisis? Chapter 47 Utter Madness, Dortmund's Terrifying Firepower. In the stands, amidst a large group of Borussia Dortmund fans in yellow jerseys, sat a young man in a suit. If Lin Quan were here, he would immediately recognize him as George Evans, the Chelsea scout he had met at the training ground. He had chosen to watch the match not only to observe De Bruyne's performance at Werder Bremen and assess whether he met the team's expectations and could be recalled to play, but also, as Lin Quan had guessed, to assess the ability and match fitness of Dortmund star striker, Lewandowski. The Pole had a phenomenal season for Dortmund, scoring 22 goals and providing 8 assists in 34 league appearances. Although his goal tally ranked third in the Bundesliga, none of his 22 goals were penalties, making them highly valuable. If he could maintain his excellent performance this season and prove he wasn't just a flash in the pan, he could join the ranks of the world's top strikers. Based on transfer market valuations, the Polish player is currently worth around €30 million, not too expensive, and Chelsea should be able to acquire him if they make a move. However, judging from his performance in the first half so far, Lewandowski hasn't shown anything particularly impressive. On the contrary, the kid who missed a free kick and hit him on the head has been a revelation. After seeing Lin Quan's performance, George couldn't help but add a section to his scouting report, meticulously recording Lin Quan's outstanding performance in the match. Although he knew that a player of this age wasn't the kind of immediate impact Chelsea urgently needed, seeing the immense undeniable potential in the player made him feel that it would be a dereliction of duty not to recommend him to the club. On the field, Dortmund's players maintained this state of wanting to attack but fearing to concede a goal for over 10 minutes. It wasn't until the 20th minute, near the end of the first half, that they finally adjusted. So what if they lost? Not attacking would guarantee a loss, while attacking might salvage the situation. Moreover, the opponent's running seemed less aggressive than at the start, lacking the sharp attacks of the opening stages. This gave the Dortmund players a slight sense of relief, allowing them to focus on executing their high-pressing tactics. As it turned out, when Dortmund steadfastly adhered to Klopp's tactics, their attacking firepower was among the best in European football. In the 22nd minute, Dortmund's new signing from Borussia Mönchengladbach, Marco Reus, stepped up. Receiving a pass from his teammate, he evaded his defender and unleashed a powerful shot inside the penalty area, breaching Werder Bremen's goal. It was a beautiful shot, leaving the goalkeeper helpless. The score became 2-1, with Dortmund trailing by 1 goal. The atmosphere at Westfalen Stadion exploded the moment the goal was scored. 80,000 fans unleashed a terrifying roar that seemed capable of lifting the stadium's dome. The passion suppressed for over 20 minutes finally had a chance to be released. In the South Stand, the 30,000 fans who had been chanting the team's anthem since the start of the match, even when their team was trailing, raised their voices even higher. Countless fans pounded their chests, raised their scarves, and roared out the team's anthem, "Never Alone." As they sang, a huge banner slowly unfurled. It was a massive yellow team flag bearing the letters BVB. Seeing this banner, the already fervent Dortmund players were like warriors infused with boundless energy, their passion and fighting spirit reaching their peak. "What a terrifying home atmosphere," Verkluge said, shrinking back slightly, somewhat fearfully. Lin Quan nodded slightly, also deeply shocked. Only now did he truly witness the power of this intimidating stadium. This intuitive feeling is something you can't experience on television. He glanced at his teammates. The first half wasn't even over, and many were already panting. Especially those who hadn't slept well the night before, their stamina hadn't fully recovered, and the first half had seen them accelerate and launch fast breaks. Add to that the oppressive atmosphere of the opposing team's formidable home ground, and their energy was severely depleted. This couldn't go on. Lin Quan looked towards the sidelines. Coach Schaff remained expressionless, showing no intention of making adjustments. The game continued, and the Dortmund players, having scored a goal, were now fully in form. They seemed to have inexhaustible energy, continuing their high-pressing attacking tactics. Meanwhile, Werder Bremen was gradually falling behind the pace. Less than 2 minutes after the previous goal, Dortmund had intercepted the ball in the attacking third. Lewandowski and Reus combined with a 1-2, and Lewandowski, receiving the ball in the penalty area, used his strength to slot it into the Werder Bremen goal despite the defender's interference. Dortmund scored again. The score was tied in just 2 minutes. And that wasn't all. Dortmund's incredible performance wasn't over yet. Just 1 minute later, Lewandowski received a pass from Reus, pounced on the ball in the penalty area, and headed it into the Werder Bremen goal again. The score became 3-2. Dortmund scored 3 goals in 3 minutes, turning the game around. Dortmund was playing with complete madness. Now, the Werder Bremen players were stunned. Looking at the stadium, which was now as chaotic as an erupting volcano, and at the Dortmund players with faces full of madness and ferocity, they were all dejected. In just 3 minutes, they had not only handed over their huge advantage but also found themselves in dire straits. Dortmund's attacking firepower terrified them. They began to doubt, could they really defeat such a terrifying team? Fortunately, there wasn't much time left in the first half. After Dortmund finished their celebrations, less than 3 minutes remained. If it weren't for the short time, Werder Bremen, already bewildered, might have conceded another goal. During halftime, Coach Schaff looked at his dejected players and couldn't help but sigh. He clapped his hands to get their attention and then said, "Your performance in the first half was excellent. You perfectly executed our pre-match tactics. Although the final score wasn't perfect, and we couldn't hold on to our huge advantage, that's not your fault, it's mine." In the final minutes of the first half, some players were clearly exhausted. To make matters worse, he had implemented a strategy of attacking Dortmund in the first half. This caused the already fatigued players to expend even more energy, significantly shortening their remaining playing time. He bore undeniable responsibility for the team's collapse in the final stages. Schaff didn't shy away from this, admitting his mistake in front of the players. "Coach, Captain Fritz opened his mouth, seemingly wanting to say something, but Schaff raised his hand to stop him. "Clemens, no need to say anything, time is running out, listen to me." He took out the tactics board and drew out the tactics they would execute in the second half. Dortmund is not invincible, our 2 goals in the first half are proof. So, in the second half, we will play like this. I will substitute a few players who are too exhausted and bring on a group of players with plenty of energy. However, these players are not for attacking, but for defending. We must use extreme defense to stifle their attack. The team cannot concede another goal. When the game reaches the last 5 minutes, you will pick up the pace and play them like you did at the start of the first half. We don't need many goals, just 1 goal is enough to drag them into a penalty shootout. And in the penalty shootout, let God decide the outcome. Chapter 48 Red Card and Penalty Kick. After explaining the tactics, Coach Schaff looked intently at his players. "I know this is difficult. You need to withstand their relentless attacks and conserve your energy for the final counterattacks, especially the attacking players who will play the full match." Schaff said, looking at Lin Quan and asking, "Lin, do you still have the energy to run?" Lin Quan nodded. Although his stamina was depleted, he still had the system's stamina potion as a backup plan. If necessary, he could spend some points to buy a stamina potion, enough for 30 minutes. "Alright, then I won't substitute you. The team needs your dribbling ability to change the score. In the second half, pay attention to managing your energy to ensure you have the strength for a final sprint, understand?" Lin Quan nodded heavily, clearly sensing the weight of the coach's expectations. 15 minutes later, the match restarted. The crazy goals in the final stages of the first half completely jolted Dortmund's players out of their initial daze. They firmly believed they were invincible at home, and that their opponents couldn't stop their offensive onslaught. So, at the start of the second half, Dortmund's players continued to resolutely execute their high-pressing tactics. This kind of tireless running is probably only something a team like Dortmund, constantly on high alert, could consistently pull off. Werder Bremen's players were clearly no match, simply unable to keep up. Of course, this style of play also has significant limitations. As players age and injuries increase, the effectiveness of this tactic will decline sharply. Furthermore, other opponents in the league will gradually adapt to this style and quickly develop counter-strategies. Therefore, after a few peak seasons, if a team's tactics aren't further refined and modified, their performance could plummet. Historically, Dortmund's performance began to decline after the 2012-2013 season, and in the 2014-2015 season, they even became a relegation-threatened team. If it weren't for a late surge in form, securing 13 points in 6 games and escaping the relegation zone, they might have actually been relegated. Such excessive strain on players' physical strength and potential easily leads to injuries. Take Borussia Dortmund's summer signing Marco Reus as an example. Since joining Dortmund, he has suffered frequent injuries, missing several national team matches due to them. A large part of this is due to Klopp's tactical approach. Similar to Liverpool's injury-plagued situation this season. Klopp is a good coach, but not suitable for all players. For example, Lin Quan believes he doesn't fit Klopp's tactics, as does Diego Simeone of Atletico Madrid. On the field, Dortmund's players pressed and ran very hard. However, their opponents stopped cooperating. Werder Bremen didn't match the pace as they did at the start of the first half, nor did they engage in an attacking battle. Instead, they adopted a defensive formation, packing their own half with players to limit Dortmund's attack. Dortmund's attacking firepower is indeed fierce, but when their opponents set up a defensive wall, they didn't have many effective solutions. There were too many players in the penalty area, and Werder Bremen had brought on several energetic substitutes. Their aggressive pressing repeatedly thwarted their attacks, so they started trying long-range shots from outside the box. Long-range shots and set pieces are common tactics against a dense defense. Werder Bremen, daring to use a tight defensive formation, were not unprepared. They used zonal marking to limit passing, ensuring that their most dangerous midfielders and forwards were always surrounded by defenders to disrupt their shots. With their shots disrupted, Dortmund's players fired several high shots, failing to threaten Werder Bremen's goal. Klopp on the sidelines was furious. The opponent's tactics were simply disgusting. He wanted to ask Schaff, "What's the point of defending when you're behind? If this score continues, we, Dortmund, will win. Are you just going to accept defeat like this?" If Barcelona were leading at this point, the opponent's tight defensive formation would be handing them a victory. They could use passing to stall for time and wear down the opponent. But possession-based tactics aren't Dortmund's style, and they don't have such a tactical option. So Klopp could only tell his players to be more patient. They were leading, and the opponents should be the ones getting anxious. If it weren't at home, he would have wanted his players to retreat to their own half and play a defensive counter-attacking game. However, judging from the opponent's behavior, even if they did retreat, the opponent might not attack. If the opponent didn't attack, and both teams parked the bus in their own half, how ugly would that be? The fans in the stadium would be booing deafeningly. Klopp had his pride. Since they were leading, there was no need to go too far. If the team could score another goal, the outcome of the game would be decided, and there would be nothing to worry about. Klopp hoped his team could score another goal, but his hopes were dashed. Under the resolute defense of Werder Bremen, Dortmund attacked for more than 20 minutes but still failed to break through the opponent's goal again. In those 20-odd minutes, they had over 70% possession and took 17 shots, 12 of which were long-range, practically besieging the opponent's goal. Unfortunately, while they had many shots, less than half were on target, and none resulted in a goal. The prolonged goallessness, coupled with the fading of their earlier high-energy performance, caused Dortmund's players to begin experiencing a physical plateau, with a noticeable decline in their running speed and intensity. In the 55th minute, seeing their opponent's fatigue and reduced pressing, Werder Bremen finally launched a counter-attack. They instantly shifted the tempo of the game, abandoning their previous defensive posture and launching attacks on Dortmund. Dortmund's players were clearly taken aback. After being dominated for over 20 minutes, they had almost become accustomed to the opponent's lack of resistance. However, their slight relaxation allowed their opponents to launch a furious counter-attack. This made Dortmund's players feel uneasy. So, this is your tactic? You're afraid to fight the whole game, only focusing on the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes? Dortmund's coach, Klopp, was the first to react, guessing his opponent's intentions. Thinking of the opponent's sharp counterattacks at the start of the game and the 2 goals conceded, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately realized the danger. Quick, retreat and defend. Don't let them launch another counterattack. If Werder Bremen could replicate their terrifying counterattacks from the first half, Dortmund's goal would be in serious trouble. They were only leading by 1 goal. If they conceded, both sides would be back to square one. And now, there wasn't much time left in the game. If it ended in a draw, they might not even have time to score another goal and turn the game around. If that happened, they would be dragged into a penalty shootout. So, is this your real goal? Klopp turned to look at the opponent's bench. There, Werder Bremen's coach was already standing on the sidelines, his eyes fixed intently on the field, watching his team's counter-attack. Klopp's prediction was spot on. Werder Bremen did indeed want to drag the game into a penalty shootout. After a full match, their stamina was nearly depleted, only enough for one high-quality counter-attack. If they scored, they might be able to muster the energy to defend desperately and hold on for the final minutes of regulation time. If they failed to capitalize on this counter-attack, They would be powerless to change the score and would have to accept defeat. This opportunity was earned through the team's all-out defensive effort in the second half, preventing the opponent from extending their lead. Otherwise, if the score difference exceeded 1 goal, even a successful counter-attack would be futile. Therefore, they absolutely could not afford to miss this chance. The ball quickly moved from Werder Bremen's backfield to the front, reaching the Bruins' feet. Pulled back by Dortmund's number 5, he exerted all his strength and passed the ball before falling to the ground. In the instant he fell, he saw the number 10 player in the green jersey sprinting at full speed in the attacking third. Lin, it's your turn. You have to score. Lin Quan didn't want to waste a Bruins assist. He spent over 10 minutes strolling around in the second half, conserving his energy for this decisive strike. And now, it was time to use it. After receiving the ball, he dodged Dortmund's number 7, Leitner, and dashed into the penalty area, getting past a covering Gunter. There were no defenders in front of him, only the goalkeeper. So, Lin Quan decisively raised his foot, aiming at the goal, ready to shoot. But at that moment, a figure rushed out from the side and behind, sliding in to tackle the ball before Lin Quan could shoot. The ball was kicked away, and Lin Quan fell in the penalty area. The entire audience spontaneously stood up, looking at the referee, wondering what his decision would be. The referee immediately rushed into the penalty area and pointed to the penalty spot. Penalty. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Lin Quan injured? Guardiola can't sit still. Let's look at this play. In the CCTV studio, Wei and Su Yang were both alert when they saw Werder Bremen suddenly accelerate and launch a counter-attack. Prudl intercepted the ball successfully and passed it to De Bruyne. Dortmund is retreating at full speed. De Bruyne passes the ball beautifully, a very penetrating pass. Dortmund's defense is in danger. Lin Quan receives the ball, dribbles past Leitner, and then past Gunter. These dribbles are clean and efficient. The opposing defenders are probably helpless. One-on-one. He's going to shoot. Oh no, he's been tackled. Su Yang quickly spoke up, I don't know how the referee will rule this. Dortmund's center-back Humes tackled Lin Quan from behind. Regardless of whether he touched the ball or not, it's a dangerous move and could result in a card. If he touched the player first, then it could be a red card and a penalty. It's decided. The referee has awarded a penalty and given Dortmund's number 15, Hummels, a red card. Despite Hummels' repeated explanations that he didn't intentionally foul, the referee showed no intention of changing the decision, simply signaling him to leave the field. The Dortmund players look very agitated, they're surrounding the referee, seemingly protesting the decision. Lin Quan seems injured. Werder Bremen players have even run into the penalty area. Compared to the referee's decision, Wei was more concerned about Lin Quan's injury. Lin Quan seems seriously injured. He didn't move after falling, and we don't know the extent of his injury yet. Hummels' red card is perfectly justified. Yes, this kind of tackle from behind is very dangerous for players because they can't see the tackler's movement, making it difficult to react in time. Once hit, it's highly likely to cause injury, possibly even a career-threatening one. After the referee dismissed Humes, he walked over to the injured Lin Quan, examined him for a moment, and then waved for a stretcher to be brought in. Werder Bremen's medical team rushed over immediately. Seeing the pain on Lin Quan's face, the medical team was alarmed and quickly asked, Lin, how are you feeling? Lin Quan wasn't actually seriously injured. He had noticed the tackle and dodged in advance, avoiding direct injury despite still being knocked down. The main reason he couldn't get up was a leg cramp from the intense sprint, and his exhaustion prevented him from standing up immediately. Understanding this, the medical team breathed a sigh of relief. They quickly straightened Lin Quan's leg and helped relax his muscles. While post-exercise cramps aren't a major problem, they are still quite uncomfortable. The home fans booed Lin Quan, believing it was a dive and the referee's decision was unfair. However, at that moment, the replay of the incident on the big screen silenced them. On the big screen, Humes' tackle from the side and behind didn't even touch the ball, he kicked the player directly. Even someone with no football knowledge could see it was a clear foul. They couldn't very well continue to accuse the referee of bias or accuse Lin Quan of diving. Regardless, It was this number 10 player who caused the red card and penalty, so booing him was the right thing to do. A deafening chorus of boos erupted as Lin Quan was carried off the field amidst the jeers. The moment Lin Quan fell injured, Coach Schaff had the substitutes on the bench begin warming up and preparing to come on. By the time Lin Quan was carried to the sidelines for treatment, Werder Bremen's number 14 winger, Aaron Hunt, had already entered the field. Is the injury serious? Coach Schaff, oblivious to the penalty result, walked to the sidelines and asked the team's medical director. The injury doesn't seem too serious at the moment, but further examination is needed to determine the specific situation. Okay, then arrange a full set of examinations for him, make sure nothing is missed. The moment Lin Quan fell to the ground injured, Coach Schaff felt as if something had gripped his heart. He worried that such a promising young star, whom the team had finally acquired, would be ruined by his own efforts. Therefore, he paid extra attention to Lin Quan's health. Young players might think they are physically strong and recover quickly, and therefore don't take their injuries seriously enough. This is clearly a wrong mindset. Injuries in the early stages of a career, if not taken seriously, can easily leave huge hidden dangers. When these injuries accumulate and worsen or even recur, they may regret it too late. Countless talented players in football have been ruined by injuries. Therefore, in recent years, major clubs have attached great importance to their team's medical teams, sparing no expense to hire professional sports experts and medical experts to serve on the team. The practice of using doormen as doctors, as was common in some teams in the past, has long since disappeared. Not only was Schaff concerned about Lin Quan's injury, but Guardiola, far away in Munich, jumped to his feet when he saw Lin Quan collapse on the television broadcast, his face filled with tension and fear. He knew all too well what an injury meant for a player of that age. It could directly ruin their career. And Lin Quan's career had just begun. If it were ruined so easily, he worried that the player would never recover. I'm sorry, Manager Hones, I have urgent business to attend to. We can discuss the matters you mentioned earlier another time. He stood up, apologized to the other person in the meeting room, and turned to leave. Oh, Coach Guardiola, your son's injury doesn't seem too serious. Our preliminary agreement is almost finalized, all that's left is your signature. How about we sign the contract first and then? Hones was speechless. Even if you care about your son, there's no need to rush. How long does signing a document take? However, Guardiola left the meeting room before he could even finish speaking, leaving him and Guardiola's agent staring at each other. Speaking of which, is Coach Guardiola always this impulsive and decisive? Hones was a little angry. He was, after all, the general manager of Bayern Munich. He had spent the entire day talking to him, showing him the team's youth teams, academy, training ground, and even the locker room. Then, when it came time to sign, Guardiola just left with a single sentence, making him feel slighted and disrespected. Victor shook his head. No, that's not it. Pep is a very humble person, and he wouldn't normally be so rude, but he can lose his composure when he encounters someone he cares about deeply. Are there many people he values that much? I'm not trying to pry into Guardiola's privacy, you know I need to eliminate risks for the team. I can't just abandon my own coach, can I? Victor said seriously, you can rest assured about that. Although Pep is a man of strong emotions, his professionalism is beyond doubt. I can tell you, there aren't many people he values that much. Besides his family, only 2 people on the field have received this level of attention from him. Oh? Who are they? Hones asked curiously. Barcelona's number 10, Messi, and the one you just saw, the one who was injured and lying on the ground. Chapter 50, A Miracle Unfolds, a comeback to win the championship. After Lin Quan left the field, De Bruyne stepped up to take the penalty. The team's first-choice penalty taker was originally Captain Fritz, but Fritz knew of De Bruyne's good relationship with Lin Quan, so he voluntarily gave the ball to De Bruyne. Normally, De Bruyne would likely have declined. But today, he didn't refuse. He couldn't waste the opportunity his friend had worked so hard to create. This goal wasn't for himself, but for the injured Lin Quan. Standing at the penalty spot, De Bruyne took a deep breath. After observing the goalkeeper's position, he began his run-up. He chose to shoot towards the far corner. The goalkeeper guessed the right direction, but unfortunately, his save was a little too slow and he couldn't reach the ball. De Bruyne converted the penalty, making the score 3-3. In the 59th minute of regular time, Werder Bremen equalized. With 1 minute remaining in the game, including stoppage time, The total time was less than 5 minutes. If neither team can change the score, then they will have to go to penalties. Neither team seemed willing to accept a draw, so after the restart, both launched attacks. Dortmund's players had run the entire match, and many were now at their physical limits, gritting their teeth and persevering. However, with one player sent off, their attacking numbers were reduced, making it difficult for them to penetrate in positional attacks. Werder Bremen's situation wasn't much better. Having played 2 consecutive matches, the team was exhausted from travel and lacked rest, so their stamina was already inferior to their opponents. Therefore, both teams' attacks lacked a spark. The 60 minutes of regular time quickly ended, and because the outcome was still uncertain, the referee added 2 minutes of stoppage time, a relatively short amount. For each team, this might only be enough for one attack each. In the first minute of extra time, Dortmund reached the edge of Werder Bremen's penalty area. Reus, initially intending to break through and shoot himself, saw Lewandowski calling for the ball in the penalty area. Trusting his teammate, he immediately passed a ball to him. This intention was anticipated by Werder Bremen's defenders. Substitute center-back Socrates Papastathopoulos preemptively intercepted the ball before Lewandowski could receive it. Selassie then immediately passed to winger Ilya, who, upon receiving the ball on the wing, sprinted towards Dortmund's half. As he crossed midfield, the referee checked his watch. Only a few seconds remained, potentially the last attack of the match. Ilya knew time was running out, so he didn't dare stop, relentlessly pushing forward along the wing. The opponent's defense on the wing was relatively weak, giving him ample space and time to advance the attack towards the sideline. He planned to deliver a cross once his teammate entered the penalty area. Success or failure hinged on this single cross. Like Lin Quan, Ilya was also running out of energy, panting heavily as he reached the opponent's sideline. Dortmund's fullback, Corsi, had already rushed up to intercept him. So, he couldn't dribble to the byline and could only sweep the ball across to the center. On the edge of his vision, he seemed to see a teammate in a green jersey rushing towards him. Although unsure if the pass would reach the opponent, he could only trust his teammate at that moment. De Bruyne was running desperately, his stamina nearing its limit. He could feel his legs were like lead, each step incredibly difficult. But he didn't want to give up this attacking opportunity. With the opponent's goal in sight, he gritted his teeth again, sprinting forward with all his might, receiving the pass before the defenders could react. Dortmund's defenders immediately rushed up, having learned from Herm's earlier foul in the penalty area. Before De Bruyne could dribble into the penalty area, a foul was committed outside the box to stop his advance. It was a tactical foul, and the referee immediately issued a yellow card. After a moment's hesitation, he awarded Werder Bremen a free kick in the attacking third. He seemed to have intended to blow the final whistle immediately, but seeing Werder Bremen's number 6 get up and carry the ball to the spot of the foul, he softened his stance and gave the opponent a free kick as a reward for his fighting spirit. "Should I take the free kick?" Fritz approached De Bruyne and asked. He could see that De Bruyne was running low on energy. Taking a free kick in this condition would likely make it difficult for him to perform at his usual level. "No, thank you, Captain, I'll do it myself." De Bruyne declined his captain's offer. He knew this was the team's last attack, so he wasn't in a hurry to take the kick. Only after the opposing team had formed a wall and the referee had stepped back and blew his whistle, signaling that he could take the kick, did he begin to slowly retreat. As he retreated, he closed his eyes, contemplating how to take the penalty kick. Suddenly, he remembered the theoretical knowledge Lin Quan had taught him during their knuckleball practice sessions. Back then, it seemed difficult to understand and execute, but now, on the field, that knowledge seemed to come alive, no longer so incomprehensible. So, De Bruyne made his decision. He would take the most difficult knuckleball. On the bench, Lin Quan, who was being massaged by the team doctor with an ice pack on his face after being pulled down on a stretcher, saw the distance De Bruyne had retreated and his heart skipped a beat. Is this guy going to take a knuckleball? He's exhausted. Can he really kick a knuckleball at over 100 km per hour? Lin Quan was skeptical. De Bruyne's choice seemed a bit reckless. He wasn't usually like this. Could it be because of me? Oh, is this guy trying to get revenge for me? The idea was good, but this shot was probably going to miss. Holy crap, copy a horrified emoji from the KTM backend when posting. Just as Lin Quan was about to say that De Bruyne's shot was unlikely to go in, the latter unleashed a high-quality knuckleball. The ball soared over the wall and flew high into the air. Dortmund's goalkeeper, Longrock judged that the ball would land high above the goal, so he didn't jump to save it, not thinking it posed a threat. But just as the ball was about to clear the crossbar and into the stands, it suddenly began to descend, skimming the bottom edge of the goal frame and mysteriously falling into the net. Dortmund's goalkeeper was dumbfounded. Was this some kind of magic? How could this ball go in? Not only him, but all 22 players on both sides, including De Bruyne, were stunned by the result. The difference was that the Dortmund players, after recovering from the shock, were dejected and seemed unable to accept the cruel result. They had fought hard throughout the entire match, only to watch helplessly as their opponents won the championship on their home turf, snatching the trophy away. Meanwhile, the Werder Bremen players, after recovering from the shock, rushed towards De Bruyne like madmen. Lin Quan also jumped up from the bench, abandoning his ice pack, and joined the other substitutes on the field. The referee didn't want to add any more stoppage time. The 2 minutes of injury time had long been used up, so after the restart, he immediately blew the final whistle. The 2012 Telecom Cup champions were the Parrot Army, Werder Bremen. I'm so frustrated by all the criticism. I'm posting all the chapters before the Bundesliga matches today, and I'll update with the Bundesliga matches tomorrow. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.